Here we are again, old school law. I am Dantron69K here with a squad. And when I mean squad, I mean a hot group. And first off, I want to say, what's up to my man, Wolf?
Howling at ya.
We got over on this side, Horton.
What's up?
Down here in the other corner, we got the man Scantron 5K.
Let's lose.
Always, always. The man, the myth, the legend, Ruben below.
What's up, y'all?
And then welcome back to the squad, D Thomas from NC.
Yo, what's up? It's your boy. We're in the building. Let's make a classic.
Every day making classics. Hey Wolf, what brings this group of special individuals together? What brings us here to this moment in time?
Well, first and foremost, it's our love of gaming, but in particularly, this episode is going to focus on our favorite arcade games. Each of us are coming into this episode with 3 arcade games from the past, going back to the 1980s, early 90s. Those arcade games that caught our eye, our faves. So I'm bad at math, but 3 times 6 is what? Is that 18?
Yes, sir.
Okay, 18 solid arcade games coming at you.
We're legal. 18.
That's right. Fast and Furious. It's going to be a great episode. It's really, for me, it's quite nostalgic because I think our love of arcades brought us all together.
Amen.
Okay, and I'll just leave it at that.
Well, then you think about it too, right? Like, have you guys noticed? Like, of course, we know in the history, right? Arcades disappeared, right? They came, consoles developed, consoles jumped beyond some of the arcades. Arcades went out. But now we're having kind of a resurgence. Like we had the ticket redemption stuff start to kick in, and some arcade stuff started to kick back up. But now we're noticing almost like an arcade renaissance starting to come back. It's starting to become a cool thing. You're seeing a lot of barcades popping up. You're seeing special arcades with other random things tied in because you can generate some money. People are getting out and about again after this COVID craziness, and it brings back memories. And I'm just super excited to be here with you guys.
Amen.
Well said. Well said. I think MAME has a big factor in all that too. You know what I'm saying?
They can't die, dude.
Yeah. Thank God for MAME.
Yeah, dude, seriously.
Whoever the group of developers and everyone else, like, doing God's work, because you never have a chance to play any of these games. It's still, 30, 40 years later. Finding new games that were actual arcade machines it's nuts. So
Yeah,
Oh, I
agreed.
know.
Cool.
Seems like game games for older fans of games or even new people who come along. That's like the base rudimentary things you need to learn. Like that's the first 101. It's like, hey man, turn on your main games, and it's something you always go back to. Like those classics will never die. Learn your main games, and then the other stuff's gravy too.
Mm-hmm.
Or like to Horton's point too, man, you can fire up your machine and it's like you could find something you've never seen before every single day of your life and play something that you never even knew existed, So I like to do that once in a while and just be like, oh, what's this? B-Rap Boys? Yeah, I'm down.
Right. Muscle March? That's not necessarily MAME, but
Ninja Baseball Man?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This Peach Pinball's not MAME, is it?
No, Peach.
No. Okay. No.
Yeah, I feel you, Scan. I do the same thing. So I'll do genres. Like certain weeks, I'll be like, hey man, this week I'm just gonna play shmups, and I just find ones that I've never played before, and it's like, and then maybe next week I'll play like paddleball games or breakout type games.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, the list goes on, man.
Speaking of that, so just quickly, do any of you guys actually remember, or can you recall the first game that you played on an emulation machine that you didn't know existed, and it just blew your mind? Was like, holy, I can't believe that I never knew about this game. Do you guys have that game? Can you think of that one?
Great question. That's a
Ooh.
great question.
Um,
Because I know I've had a few. I just can't,
I-
you know, after cycling through tens of thousands of games for years on end now, it's like I can't remember which ones did that.
I can give you my example, and maybe it'll spark some. Mine was Dolphin Blue. The first time I
Really?
played Dolphin Blue, because I never even knew
Thomas
that game
Wayne?
existed, never seen it. As soon as I saw that, and I love Metal Slugs, I played those in the arcades. The first time I played on emulation Dolphin Blue, I can remember that specific second, and I was like, "Oh, this game is way too good for me not to have known that it existed." And it opened my mind as to what else is there. It was like opening up Pandora's box, not the game system,
Dude.
you know what I'm saying? But like that's what it was, and I was like, dude, this is a whole nother freaking world. It was like the first time you watched Tron for the first, you know what I'm saying? It's like you had no idea what was going on here, like the movie. It was just mind blown. So that was mine.
I got one for sure. I just thought of it. Primal Rage 2. Did
Yep.
not even realize that game existed and found out it was on MAME, and I was like, holy shit, how could they not have released this game? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got two. One of which I premiered on Scan Stream.
Oh.
When you were taking requests, and even you
Okay.
said, "Damn, this game is the bomb diggity," and that was Night Slashers. It was
Oh,
a
Yeah,
good,
yeah, I got it saved, dude. It's in my favorite list.
yeah. I mean, I came across that. I was like, "Holy crap, that was an arcade game! How did I miss this? It's amazing." Really good. And the other game, you kind of sparked me, Dan, to say this because you said Dolphin Blue, right? Was that a Thomas Wave?
Yep.
Yeah. So a game kind of like that called In the Hunt, which is kind of like a Metal Slug but underwater, and it is really, really addicting, cool, similar graphics. God, I love that game.
Yeah, the graphics in that one are awesome, man.
Yeah.
It's just it stands up to any Metal Slug.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
don't- See, I've never played that one. See?
Oh,
Or
that's
it's
a
happening.
must try.
It's
You gotta
happening.
try In the Hunt.
How about you, DT?
I was just sitting here thinking, man, like I came across so many different games that I've never like one that rings a bell was like Mystic Warriors.
Yeah.
Like it's a you play Mystic Warriors. Like I didn't know that game ever existed until I started messing around with these arcade games, right? It's because when you play Mystic Warriors, it's made by Konami, and like on the first stage, you get to like this part to where people are at a drive-in movie theater and you see Sunset Riders playing in the background.
Yeah.
So I love when
That's
I love when games make a cameo with another game that they've made. Like, you know, if
Yeah.
you're playing Final Fight 2, they got Chun-Li in the background,
Mhm.
something like that. I love when games do that. And Mystic Warrior was, I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys played Mystic Warriors before, but I never knew that the game existed. And when I found out about it, I'm like, this joint is fire. Like,
Mhm.
it never got, to my knowledge, it never got a console release, so I didn't know anything about it. Never saw it in the arcade, but having these machines, you know, you start messing around with MAME, like Scan and Ruben was saying, you come across some stuff 3-4 years later, and you're like, bruh, this joint is heat. And it's crazy that these MAME games, they're so nostalgic, they're so graphically like aged well that they're better than some modern games that are dropping today.
Yeah, definitely.
Dude.
Garfield,
Facts.
no,
Garfield.
Facts. Straight.
nah, I ain't wanna
Straight
Oh.
facts.
Bro,
mute
the
that out.
Easter
bro.
egg thing, the Easter egg thing is a great point. Like when you play whatever the side scroller Judge Dredd game is, they got people walking by and they're walking like mini Goros down the street.
Oh yeah. That's pretty dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Rube, how about you? Can you think of one?
Oh man, I was thinking about they're too numerous to mention. I mean, I always come across tons of gems. Like, wow, I've never heard of this one. This was the first time I ever played it. It's on MAME, but I think some that for me has been really cool ever since I've gotten a professional machine was coming across ones I'd forgotten about. And I was like, holy shit, I remember this game. Like for me, it's like that internal hunt to find that missing game that I remember seeing in an arcade as a kid.
Yep.
Maybe I still haven't seen it yet in the main file, and I'm still looking for it. But one came up last year. It was called Armor Attack. It's a really not a, you don't see it a lot, but it was one of those games that had an overlay similar like to Vectrex. So when it was in the arcade, it had an overlay and it had vector graphics underneath the overlay. Well, unfortunately, when you play it on main, you don't have that overlay. So
You're right.
you're just seeing the vector graphics and you have no overlay to play it within. It's basically a tank versus helicopter attack, armor attack. So you can't really play it without an overlay. But as soon as I came across it, I was like, holy shit, I remember this game, man. I was a little kid and I must have spent $5-10 in this thing. And it was just so hard. But I have a lot of those oh shit moments. Like, man, for me, I would take me back. And I think that's part of the appeal to this day is that I'll still find something and I'm like, oh, I remember this one, and so for me, that was one of them. I was like, totally forgot about it as a kid, came across it on a main and I'm like, oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta play that one. I think the worst part is having those games that you remember it, but you don't remember the name of it and you don't remember the artwork or anything, and you are just obsessed with trying to find it, but you're just looking for a needle in a haystack, man.
Yep, for real.
Exactly. You nailed it right there, Skin.
All right.
I think I just forgot about it, pushed it back in my mind. But that was one that I dumped a lot of quarters, just like Galaxian and Asteroids and Blastroids. I mean, I put quarters in that thing, and I was like, for some reason, I just forgot about it and came across it. It was very cool.
Right.
Hey, Horton, how about you?
So I wasn't joking. I had never heard of or anything else but Ninja Baseball Batman.
Oh, geez.
And I was like, what in the world? And started playing. I'm like, this is, in fact, it's similar to one of my games that we'll talk about today, but it's a side-scrolling beat 'em up. Never heard of it. Actually pretty amazing. I was like, what in the world is this? And I think the other one was, probably because I'm from a little shit town in Wisconsin, but it was, in my arcade, didn't have a ton of arcades, but I had never played Dungeons and Dragons in terms of the actual arcade game, another beat 'em up. And like, actually, when I first got my machine, it was like, I actually found it. I'm like, wow, this is pretty good. And actually, my daughter and I played through it, that first night. It was like, played through the whole thing. It was amazing. So,
Shadows over Mystara.
Yeah.
You guys brought up
one
Tower of Doom.
Yeah.
You brought up a good point when you said you were in Craptown in Wisconsin. What I've noticed over the years is that even the larger arcades, the people that were running those arcades were going to pack the arcade with games that they knew people wanted to play. So some of those really awesome but obscure games that they didn't really know about, that's why we didn't see them, because they weren't well known. It was just some random, like Pizza Hut or something would have one in there. You're like, what is this? Or some random, the big one was like a movie theater. I used to find random weird stuff at movie theaters that I didn't see in the other arcades, and I was like, but with MAME in particular and emulation, you're able to like kind of experience that again. And then some of those ones that were harder to find but were fantastic games, you just come across it and you're like, dude, it's never ending. Like, we're talking like 15,000 games in MAME now, something like that. It's crazy. Just a crazy concept.
That's a lot.
Yep.
Damn.
I think one of my favorite things is when you have people over in your home arcade, and you'll always have like your buddy's wife that is like, oh yeah, like you can tell they're just totally not impressed. Like they think it's cool, but you're like, all right, come on, give me a game, give me one game that you remember that I know you played. And they'll be like, okay, fine. And then you pull it up, and next thing you know, they're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then like they want to know if you got like, whatever, freaking Crash Bandicoot and all the other stuff.
That was perfect.
I love that impersonation. Was dope.
Yeah, Scan, can you give that to us one more time? Yeah, one more time. Well, how'd that go again, Scan?
Oh my God.
Cool. All right, so we're gonna start this thing off. Are you guys good with that? You ready to hit it up?
You are, man.
All right, so I'm gonna start off how I like to roll. I like it for everybody to kind of be able to follow along. So I'm gonna start, and I'm gonna work counterclockwise on my screen. Sorry, it's gonna be different for you guys, but it's gonna start off with Horton today. So Horton, start us off hot.
All right. So I'm starting off, everyone who knows me in this. I'm starting off with my favorite arcade machine of all time, and it is Tron. And so I am a very techie, dorky, nerdy person for my entire life. And when the movie Tron came out in 1982, I think, like it just like, I think Larson, you had kind of talked about it. Like it was unbelievable. Like you look at it, you watch it now, it's still kind of hilarious, but still for the time, the CGI mixed with real is kind of first kind of computer CGI enabled movie kind of thing, and it was just amazing. And it's kind of where, for people who know me, I'm kind of in the IT world and everything else. It was kind of like my first foray into computers, and I'd had a Commodore 64 and that kind of stuff, Atari 2600, but like this was something different. And so the actual thing that I loved about the arcade machine when it first came out, and I was pretty young, but still it was 4 games in one, right? You had the opportunity, you had like the IO tower, you had the MCP core, you had the battle tanks, and then you also had, which is probably everyone's favorite, the light cycles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so anyone who loved the movie, it was just so amazing to be able to play all these different games, and how, especially back then, you remember we didn't have a lot of story-driven games and arcade machines and everything in the early 80s. So it was like, this is pretty cool. And I think they had like 12 different levels. And I never obviously beat it in the arcade because I was pretty young and it was too hard. But ever since getting my machine, being able to go through it and play all the levels and be able to go through it. And it was actually intended, interesting fact, it was actually intended to have 5 games. And the 5th game, can anyone guess what it was supposed to be? It actually was supposed to be Discs of Tron.
Okay.
So it wasn't actually released, so they actually released it as another cab, as a standalone game. So also one of my favorites, but I didn't bring it up for this conversation. So Tron, it was amazing. It was like different kind of, you had the joystick, the yoke kind of thing, along with the spinner. So you got lots of different types of gameplay. It was just really, really, and just because of my passion, it was really cool. It had the black light built into the actual arcade cabinet. So like the actual stick would glow. And it's pretty cool. In fact, gone to some of the arcades nowadays, they've retrofit them. Like they had the top part, which was like the MCP, which is the Master Control Program. It had a picture of it, but people have retrofitted with an actual screen, having like videos of movies playing and stuff. So I think if I ever get a dedicated cabinet, it's going to be the one that I get. So
I say you should do that.
Yeah.
Everybody should own a dedicated cabinet that they love, man.
I would like one at least.
I'll let you talk to my wife.
Who needs that? It's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is permission, homie.
Not for me.
Horton, you touched on it too. It was a attention grabber. So like you said too, like there was very little story driven like video games that were out there, but this had the movie that was along with it. So that was kind of like the story narrative, and they were able to use that because you watch the movie, you play the game, you can kind of understand what's happening. But that cabinet stood out. It was one of those cabinets you walk into an arcade and it was different. It had a different shape. It was very bright. It had that weird black light, so it almost glowed. And so I know exactly what you're talking about. I remember that game, and I also sucked at it. I was not good at that game at all, but it was dope.
It was always, you could always get through like the IO towers where you had to actually fight off the I don't know what they called them. It was basically grid bugs, but they're like spiders. To get into it, that one was always pretty good. The MCP cone, that was actually not too bad. I got good enough where it was more about just getting all the bricks to get the most points, not just getting into the cone to be beamed up. But everyone's favorite, my least favorite, was the battle tanks, because it was just very similar to like having an Atari and everything, having combat in the tanks and that kind of stuff. It was very similar to that. But the light cycles was awesome. Like that was probably the hardest one in a lot of ways, just because as it got faster. But yeah, no, and then I can't even imagine if they included Discs of Tron in there, which would have been pretty amazing to have all 5 games. But
you do have all 5 games.
I do now.
Yes, you do.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, just something to add to what Horton said. To me, everything you said is right. Like you walk into an arcade and you could spot that anywhere, but the sound was amazing when that thing came out. I mean, it's like the light cycle sounds, like everything was like way better than a lot of the arcades that were out. It was almost like it was a step ahead of other arcade machines that came out at the same time.
Yeah. I had read originally they were going to make it like, I think Bally Midway made it. And they were going to make it a Vectrix or Vector Graphics machine at first. And I'm really glad they didn't. Like it was like, it just seemed more relatable or to the movie, which I loved. So it was like I said, it wasn't really story driven, but at least it had different aspects of the movie that made it almost feel story driven. But yeah.
Dude, I think I might blow a couple minds here right now, but I do not think I have ever played Tron in my life.
Wow.
Whoa.
Wow.
Dude, I've seen it.
And you have it in your name. How is this possible? How is this freaking possible?
It's all about the scan, bro.
Oh man,
It's all
that's
about
funny.
the scan,
Jeez.
not the
Bro, you
Tron
gotta-
part.
Change your name, bro. Your name is Scan 5K, bro.
Oh.
I have never even sniffed a game of it that I can remember. I don't think I've ever played it once.
That's nuts. That's absolute bonkers.
It is. I should play it. Matter of fact, I'm going to play it tonight. When we're done doing this, I'm going to play Tron.
Nice.
The one thing about it though is because it was almost like one of the first experiential cabs, right? Because it's got a spinner and then it had joystick with a trigger, and so like you kind of, and like you'd only use a joystick for the light cycles, but then for the MCB cone you had to use, because that's how you controlled your arm to shoot, and then you had the trigger on the joystick. It was a different way of playing games than I was ever used to.
I got you.
Yeah, great pick.
Yeah, excellent pick.
Good pick.
Anybody else got any memories on that game?
I just wanted to reiterate what you said, Larson. I mean, I remember as a kid going in and, we were kind of used to Space Invaders and stuff like that. But I remember walking in and seeing Tron, and we were just like, what? Whoa, what? Okay, go get your money. Go get your money. And when you went over there and you played in the side cabinets, I mean, you were in the game, man. You were in the game, and there's a black light, and there was graphics on either side. I remember looking to the left, I see Sark, and I'm like, whoa, mind blown, man. I was like, on the grid, dude. That was just one you saw in an arcade, and you were like, okay, I don't know what this game is, but I'm playing this sucker. And there was a line. There was a line of people playing it. So that was just one of those iconic games that, man, it was a showstopper when you walked in an arcade, straight up.
Cab is a nice looking cab, I will say that.
Especially if it's clean. And as a side note, they have started production on Tron 3. So get ready to go to the
awesome.
theaters.
Yeah, little side note.
There.
How about you, DT? Do you remember playing that one? Did you ever see it? Did you even like it?
Negative. Negative. I'm with Scan on this one, but good thing my name is D Thomas from NC.
That's right.
I've never I'm going through my catalog, my Rolodex in my life, and I've never walked in an arcade that I can think of in any mall that had Tron. So that's why I've never seen it to be able to play it. So that's why. Now
we must probably mention there's probably some age differences.
Oh yeah. there definitely is.
Yeah.
Well, I'm an 80s baby. What do you mean?
Yeah, you youngins. You
70s,
youngins. Oh, man.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
That's 70s, baby.
Why. That's why. That's why. You 70s too,
like,
oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm 70s, brother.
No
it's
way.
Yes.
the equivalent of D Thomas.
Way.
Yep. I'm
like
the 60s.
The 1860s.
Exactly. Union all the way, baby.
You guys look good to have been born in the 70s. You guys look great. You guys look really good. Man.
Thanks, D. Thanks, D.
Right.
You know what? You're invited
You guys
every
look
time
great
now.
for being old as shit.
Man.
You put that on my cane all of a sudden.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna put that on my walker. I'm gonna have a little plaque that says DT says I look good.
Nah, you guys really do look good, man. Y'all should be proud, bro.
Thanks,
Straight
brother.
up.
Hey, Scan,
That'd be
guess
like-
what?
Yo.
You're up. It's your turn.
Okay, all right. Cool, man. Let me hit you guys with a total unexpected showstopper right now. Just like Horton. But my first pick And in my defense, I don't think it gets enough love because it's mostly MK2, but Mortal Kombat 1 has to be my number one top arcade game pick. Even though MK2 tends to be my favorite, I think Mortal Kombat 1 changed the world when it came to fighting games. Hands down, full stop. I'm not preaching anything that hasn't been heard before, but it pretty much changed my life, not gonna lie. I'm standing here in my home arcade right now, and there's a good chance that if that game never existed, because it was the first cabinet I bought were Mortal Kombat cabinets, I don't know if I'd have a home arcade. I mean, straight up. So I think that the realism, like with the characters, how they were actual, almost like a stop motion photo shoot with real people, so that when you ripped the head off, it looked like you were actually dismembering a real human instead of some, like, you know, Street Fighter type graphic. No shade on Street Fighter. It was more cartoony, whereas Mortal Kombat brought that, like, I don't know, man, that like Bruce Lee type feel with, like, you know, with Liu Kang and just a pair of black pants and no shirt on, and we're talking about like the real human aspect of it. But yeah, I mean, if you guys want to pitch in on this one, let me know, but I'm not surprising anyone here. MK1 all day.
Yeah. I mean, you think back to the 90s, you think about Mortal Kombat. I remember being in middle school, my friends and I having those Game Pro magazines, and you know, there was no
Yeah.
YouTube back then. So you get those Game Pro magazines, you flip to the back and you see how do you do this fatality. And
Yeah,
like
all the
Stan
moves.
was saying, it just really, I think Mortal Kombat is responsible for the ESRB rating in video games
It is.
because
Oh, it is.
of you know, and we all know the blood code that was on you know, when it came to home console. But yeah, Mortal Kombat, man, it just brings back so many memories. It's good to still see it's going strong here in 2024. I know a lot of people are not big fans of Mortal Kombat 1, you
The
know,
new
as they
one.
were, yeah, the newer one as they were with Mortal Kombat 11. But it's still great to see that like this franchise has been out since I was in middle school, and
Yep.
here I am in, you know,
You're 40.
80s baby. I'm in
Yeah.
40s, early 40s, bro, and Mortal Kombat is still like doing its thing. That's pretty amazing. I mean, almost
It's
it's
still
pretty dope,
huge.
bro.
It's
Yeah,
still
it's it's
huge,
it's
man.
still a big deal. I mean, it's been cartoons, it's been movies, it's been multiple video games, and to be able to recreate those fatalities from for 40 years, bro, and still be fresh. I mean,
Yeah.
how many different ways can you take somebody's head off? They've shown you can do it multiple times in many different gore graphic ways. But yeah, Mortal Kombat 1, man, that game will always be a
Oh,
classic.
it's a Titan, bro. It's a
Period.
Titan. Dude, I remember having like sleepovers when we were kids, and like, you know, my boy would bring his like Super Nintendo over. I'd have Sega after it got ported to consoles, and we'd stay up all night trying to nail fatality. That game literally did like have a huge impact on my childhood. Like, whatever they did it right, man. And I love their story. I think it's the Insert Coin documentary, right, where it was all about Midway and how they created those games. They didn't have any rules. So when they came out with MK1 and they were making games like Narc and stuff like that, they didn't have any rules, which to Derek's point, you know, the ESRB rating is there because of Mortal Kombat specifically. And they were like telling, you know, just talk about how like, man, we were just making shit up and we just put it in a video game. And I just remember the first time, like I remember one time we had an extension cord out in a tent in the backyard. I was like 12 years old, and we took a TV out there, and I think my first fatality I nailed on the home console was Scorpion's fire. You know what I mean? With the Scorpion's fire breather, dude. And I was like, oh my god, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Dude,
but after that, I had to learn them all and then just keep going. I don't know, dude. I don't think I was ever more excited for a release in my life than when MK2 was getting ready to port to home console. Because after all the hype over MK1, God, dude, game changed my life, man. It's a badass game.
This is another one too that you go. Well, you can talk to people, any gamer, anyone that grew up around arcades and around Mortal Kombat 1 time. You can say, where were you when you first saw Mortal Kombat?
Everyone knows.
I remember
Yep.
walking through and like so people were playing. There was like a line there, so and I was short. I was, I'm still short, but and so I couldn't really see what was going on. And then, but I was like hearing people hooting and hollering. I'm like, what is this? And I walked by and I legit saw some. What was the one that I saw? The first one I think I ever saw was I was like, oh, these look like actual like realistic humans that are fighting in here. I was like, what is this? And I saw I think it was it was either no, I know it was Kano's Heart Rip. That was the first one I ever saw in the arcades, and I remember seeing it. I remember seeing it, and I was like, "Whoa, hold up! Did he just rip that dude's heart out?" And and it changed how I looked at stuff. Like, because I had already played, Street Fighter 2 and stuff, but Mortal Kombat totally different. Like, it was a step from like Disney up to like Shrek level. You know what I'm saying? It was like a huge jump between the two for at least adult style. And so, but yeah, it was something special for sure.
Bro, I didn't even have to see a fatality. I think I've mentioned this story before, but my brother, we were at Alpine Ski Resort up in Michigan. We were, up there on the hill, going to the arcade. I was kind of like, I think we were getting a thing of fries or something. My brother came running up. I was like, Aaron, you got to come see this game. There's like people falling on spikes and stuff. And I kind of blew my little brother off. But then when he finally got me in the arcade, I saw somebody uppercut someone off the pit. And that was it for me, dude. I was like, death and destruction.
Love at first sight.
Yeah. It was something, dude. I mean, the Mortal Monday hype was, dude, I still remember that commercial. So yeah, that was my
when did it come out? Like what
it was like September 13th, 1993, I think
93.
was Mortal Monday.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it because I remember it. Like I remember to the day, but I was in high school, but I was near the end of high school.
Same.
And we were still kind of going the arcade stuff, not as much as when I was younger, because this is when the arcades were starting to decline, right? Because all the home consoles and everything else was really taking over. But I remember going in there, once again, small shit town, and the only thing to do on the weekend was go to the mall. So we're walking in, and our arcade was right near the entrance of the mall. And walking in, seeing just a ton of people, right, which was an odd sight. And going in and seeing like, holy crap, and seeing it for that first time, right? To Scan's point, is like, looked like real people, right? And you're like, holy crap. Like you're used to Street Fighter and other things. Like, what in the world? And then I remember waiting in line, putting the quarter down and everything else, and getting up there. It was different style of play too, right? Mm-hmm. Like the combinations and the block and then the button layout and everything was just so different. I've never been a good Mortal Kombat player. I still love it and I still buy every one, but it's still one of those things where it was like totally different. And then the first time you saw a fatality was like, holy crap. Like, it's like
mind blowing, dude. The thing that sucks about going to the arcade when you were young is like, to your point, you walk in, there's a mob of people around one machine and you're like, what the hell is going on here? And you realize it's the Mortal Kombat cabinet. And then you wait in the line, loser pays, winner stays, you get up, you finally put, because all the vendors had them cranked up to 50-cent plays. So you put your 50 cents in, and then 15 seconds later, you were walking away from the machine because some dude in a trench coat kicked your ass because they just sat there all day long playing it, dude.
Yeah.
But
I got a quick memory on that. I agree, Rye. I think I was I must have been like a junior or senior in high school, and me and my friends cut school. We rode our bike to Spaceport, which is an arcade by my house. It was really dark, all black lights, seedy. People are smoking weed. They're getting blowies in the back. It was like
those are the best arcades.
Oh, you kidding me?
Man.
It was
That's
awesome.
why we do this. It's not nerddom. This is just friggin'.
You're not kidding, man. But I remember the line, and this is the first time I was. I remember, like, so they're playing, and I'm trying to see because, like Dan, I was not blessed with the gift of verticality, so it was tough for me to see. So try to get up. Then I kind of like positioned myself so I could play next. And I remember this big guy turned around and said, "You're not next, son. Look at this." And he pointed to the arcade. There were like 15 quarters in a
lined up
on the screen. He's like, "Get in line." I'm like, "What?" So it was like the first time I saw, like, to get your position in line was where your quarter was lined up on the screen.
Yeah.
That's so funny,
Damn.
man. I just remember those days. You're so right about that, dude. You ain't next time.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what's
You don't deserve to play
this
games.
game? Yeah, you know what's funny about this whole conversation? Just a few minutes ago, Scantron said, "Yeah, we were talking when it came out something like 90." And Scan's like, "Yeah, like it was 1993, September 13 and 48 seconds." It was like just rattled it off like it was nothing. It was like, oh, just like Rain Man stuff.
That's right.
Dude,
Awesome.
I mean, I couldn't tell you all the, the Mortal Kombat lore and the stories and everything and connect the timelines, but I do know my shit enough. I know it enough.
Yeah.
Pretty
Awesome.
knowledgeable in Mortal Kombat for sure.
I'm not like some of you guys, man, but the games that I love, I
Mhm.
know them. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Anybody else got anything on Mortal Kombat?
I was never a huge Mortal Kombat person. I was more of a Street Fighter guy, but I got nothing but mad respect for the game. And all I wanted to say was that it was one of those games where it was like, wow, this is an aggressive game, man. Like, they're putting this stuff out, letting kids play this. And
So
yeah,
true, dude.
I just want to say, it's a true testament to the people who made this game. It still stands up today, man. I mean, look at Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. How long ago that game was. And there's tournaments for this game. I mean, people are like, this is like the best, most competitive game. So it's a testament to the game that still stands up and that it's still pushing, man. So I got nothing but respect for Mortal Kombat. But,
Agreed, man. Well said.
Guy, but nothing but respect for it.
You rarely, if ever, will meet anyone if the subject comes up that doesn't know of it and like it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know anyone that's just like, oh, I hate Mortal Kombat. Everybody loves it, man. It's an easy game to love.
Well,
yeah, it's not even. I wasn't good at it, and so I never kind of pursued it. All my other friends were like, "Oh, listen, Street Fighter, man, Street Fighter," and so they kind of were into it as much. But when I tried to play it, I was just like, man, I suck at this game. It had a different, it didn't have those half quarter turns. It had a different playing style,
It wasn't back to block.
Yeah, back to block is the specific playing style.
Yeah, and then there's quick tap successions. I mean, if anybody's played Street Fighter and then you play Tekken, there's a difference between, or Virtua Fighter, that's a better example. Virtua Fighter, a Street Fighter person will sit down Virtua Fighter 2 and get lost. Like, what? Because it's just a different way that they're playing with taps and stuff like that.
It becomes muscle memory. Like, if you're playing those fighter games so much, like, it just, and like to switch it up, like that was the hardest thing for me going to Mortal Kombat was a block button. Because I was just so used to pushing back to block, and I was just getting. So when it first came out, I never got to keep playing because I almost got my ass kicked right away, and then
I feel like they kind of revolutionized the whole fighting thing by adding the block button. Like,
it was different.
I feel like when you're trying to pull off a move set or something and you're already holding back, it's like. I don't like anything that serves like two purposes with the same button stroke, or you know what I mean? I don't know, man. It's just me.
I think it's a game changer.
Mortal Kombat is the only game that I think that you have to in a fighting game, if I'm not mistaken. Like, you think about Fatal Fury, you think about Street Fighter, you think about Samurai Shodown, Guilty Gear, all the fighting games you can think of, King of Fighters, you press back to block. Mortal Kombat is the only game I think where you actually have to press a button to block. So that's why
I think there's one more. There's one more. D. Dead or Alive. Dead or Alive has that counter button. You can't just hold back.
Tattoo Assassins, I think, has a block button.
But you're right.
War Gods.
But you're right. To your point, DT. There's so many fighting games that just take the default of not putting an extra button on the control panel, and it's just back because it's just so many games use it. So and then and to be fair, Dead or Alive really isn't a block button; it's a counter button. So, but it serves kind of the same kind of purpose. But you're absolutely right. MK is the one you think about with the back to block. I mean, with the block button.
And that was definitely groundbreaking. That was just as groundbreaking as, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Virtua Fighter 2 was one of the first games where you could switch planes and move back and forward inside the field. Am I wrong?
Well, maybe
No,
was
I
it
think
Fatal
you're
Fury
right.
too?
You know, like you could do it where you could turn
Fatal
left or right
Fury.
inside of the 3D
Well, I
field.
know. Yeah,
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Fatal
I think
Fury
Fatal-
was different planes this way, but yeah, 360 spinning. I
Yep.
think you're right.
Yeah, you could
Yeah,
spin,
yeah.
and that Soul Calibur had it made it popular too. You could actually turn inside the field. So
Guys,
that,
I'm going to grab a shot. I'm with you though in the headset. Getting a shot.
that was, no games were doing. They were all just side by side,
Head to
on
head.
top. But then you could start going inside the field and dodge this way. That was another groundbreaking. Like, what? Whoa!
Yeah. Well, if Scan's still listening, I just
I
thought
am.
of something. All right, so you said you'd be hard pressed to find anybody that disliked Mortal Kombat. There were a whole bunch of angry Karen moms back in the
Oh.
early 90s, and
Yeah, they don't count.
the religious right that wanted to bring down the gaming industry because of Mortal Kombat. So
Oh,
there were
yeah,
a lot
I
of
hated 'em.
pissed off people when that came out.
Yep. Mortal Kombat
Yeah.
and Dungeons and Dragons, dude. They were hitting us hard.
Yeah, they don't count in my opinion because I'm talking present day. Those people don't care anymore. They're either, way old and it's been this way forever, or we're talking like people who have existed with it for the last 30 plus years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
But you're right, man. There were some Karens. I remember the evening news and everything talking
Yeah.
about it.
Oh, they were
Yeah.
going crazy, man.
Yep. Is the world going to hell next
Yeah.
at 11 o'clock at night? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Keep watching us to
That's
stay
right.
scared.
Demons and drive-ins. It's like, really, you guys, like, come on. I remember those days, though. Yeah. Now you bring it up, Wolf. I remember.
Excuse me.
Straight up.
There you
Great,
go.
great choice, Scan. Great choice.
Thank you.
Ruben.
No big shock.
No big shock. Yeah. Ruben, you're up, my friend.
Okay, well,
Do a shot.
I was thinking about this, and when you mentioned greatest arcade games of all time, I was thinking, well, I think there had to be two factors for me, and one of them was the nostalgic part for me, like just like Mortal Kombat or Tron for you guys. It was that there was a certain point in your childhood, seeing that game and playing it at that moment just made an impression for you for the rest of your your life.
Amen. Amen.
That was one of them, and the second one was is replayability. When I think of greatest arcade games, it's just like, what game do I keep coming back to, and I can still play that thing like it was yesterday, man. So one of my first picks is Tempest, and it was just one of those classic Atari games. And I was reading about it, and it's actually co-founder Nolan Bushnell's favorite Atari game of all time.
Mm.
So this cat developed Atari, and that's his favorite game of all time. It tells you, but it just was one of those machines. You walked into a room, and the sounds, and Atari was just so notorious for their artwork. And I remember being a little kid and seeing like the creatures and the vacuum and the circle, and just being mesmerized by it. Like, wow, what is this? This game's just got to be scary, man. And when you played it, the sound was just amazing. The graphics were, you had an imagination back then, so you kind of imagine it. It didn't disappoint me that I didn't see actual monsters in the game, but you kind of went there. Your mind just went there because of the arcade, the graphics, the sound. And for me, it was just a different game that used the paddle ball. At that point, a lot of the paddle ball games were just like the breakout type games, which are cool. But this was another one that used it in a different aspect, to turn around the actual ones. And it was one of the few games that came out early that you could progress, and it when the levels necessarily don't get harder, but the levels would change. So different tubes, different things. So they were actually, back in the day, it was just like, okay, level 2 is going to be harder than the other one, faster. Level 3 is going to have more enemies, and they were kind of like following that same, basic formula. But this one upped the game, different levels, different enemies, and so that was one of my favorite. I'll never forget it. And to this day, I still play it, and I still love it. It's just one of those games for me. One of my favorite ones all time.
So for the younger generation that might be watching this episode, take some notes on some of these games you might not have ever heard of and give them a chance. Like Tempest in particular might be one that you'd never even heard of. Try it out. Tempest is one of those ones that it'll get you, and you'll be like, oh man, it's one of those ones for me that I feel that I got to keep going on. Like I want to keep going, and you'll lose time, kind of like Joust. Same thing. I'll just lose time playing it, not even realizing it, and it's just a fun game.
Yeah, that's a great point. Totally great point. And when Ryan was mentioning, like, what was the first game that you fired up when you got your machine?
Was Ninja Baseball or Dungeons and Dragons and Ninja Baseball Batman were the ones but what? First of all, I mean, when I first fired up my machine, I went Tron. Yeah, so.
But for me, I hooked it up to my TV. My neighbor helped me get it up the stairs, and of course, it didn't work. After I got delivered, of course, classic EHA, dead on arrival.
Dead on arrival.
40 making phone calls a day. What's going on, man? But it was a loose cord, anyways. But the first game I fired up, man, is that I seen the bevels, I saw that it was Tempest, and I'm like, what? I'm just here. I got Tempest in my own house, man. I can play it wherever I want, how many times I want. I can play this thing all night long. And so for me, that was the first one I fired up straight up.
Yep, pants, no pants, whatever. It's just there. Doesn't even matter.
Dude.
Yep. Anybody else got anything on Tempest? Nah?
I've played it. I was never a big Tempest guy, but I completely respect the love for Tempest, man. Everyone's got their flavor, so.
Mm-hmm.
It was a cool game. Like it was like just I never got into it. It was almost too hard for me. I was like, it almost gave me seizures, but it's like I don't know. But it was a cool game though. Like the sounds were amazing. Like
audio visual overload.
I have had a hardcore Tempest player show up at one of my parties before. And man, that dude, he was like really introverty. It was like a friend of mine's husband. And damn, dude, he played Tempest for hours on my Megacade, man. And you used the spinner for that, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like you shoot down. It's like you're going down a tunnel, and it's like you spin around and.
Yep.
It was a vector matrix or vector graphics game.
Yeah,
I mean, it was cool. Like visually, it was cool and stuff, but it almost gave, like I said, it was like. For me, it was hard.
Yeah.
It was harder than it probably should have been, but
it's incredibly difficult.
The vector graphic games are the games that like I gravitate the least toward, but I kind of chalk it up to like when I'm playing my V-Pen, the old classic clingy games with like 3 knockers or like 3, I don't know what I'm trying to say, 3 bumpers in it, like a really simple table. Like people who are alive back in those days, they love those tables, but like I don't even mess with them. I'm like, this is boring. Give me something from the 90s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was one of the first vector games that used different colors, because up to that point, Asteroids and Lunar Lander, some of these others were just single color vector graphics. Yeah. So it was just part of them upping the game. But
like I just remember seeing it and being like to your point, like it looked visually with the vector graphics and multicolor, but the sounds and everything, and like it was super cool. But it was just like, once again, I was so bad at it. It was just like I can't play this. Like literally.
If you're bad at a game, you don't want to play it. Straight up. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
That seems like a reoccurring theme tonight.
Yeah.
At how bad Ryan is at games.
I'm not good at games.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not good at it.
Oh my gosh.
Kind of like you and drinking. Wolf.
Look, the soda goes in the bag, you guys. It just goes in the bag.
Yeah.
In the bag.
It's like Wolf and staying awake.
Hey, I took a 2.5-hour nap for this one.
That's right.
Oh, hell yeah.
All right. So, DT, that's you, buddy. You're up.
All right.
He's like, I'm gonna turn my brain back on now, fellas. Let's go.
I just looked. I saw Steph Curry hit a game-winning 3. Game is over with against the Phoenix Suns, which is a great segue into the next game I want to talk about. Keeping it on scans mode back in the year 1993, man, I'm gonna go with NBA Jam. I don't care if you're not a big
Yep.
fan of basketball. I'm a big time sometimes I feel like I should have went to the league. I'm a real big fan of basketball, right? So NBA Jam. I was gonna go with Run and Gun too, but because that's another big one of mine. But NBA Jam, bro, like I don't care who you are. I mean, even when it came to console, I mean, you think about NBA Jam, Big Head Mode, playing with Bill Clinton, Al Gore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Three shots in a
Rain.
row. 3 shots in a row, you're on
Yeah.
fire. The insane dunks. Like Scan was saying with Mortal Kombat, they were just making stuff and just going with it because they didn't have any boundaries. The same thing with NBA Jam. It wasn't 5v5 like simulation basketball. It was 2v2. And you were doing insane stuff. You were pushing. There were no fouls. There were flip dunks. There were helicopter dunks, spinning dunks. These guys is jumping out of the screen, dunking the ball, getting on fire. I think it just revolutionized all things with like basketball at the time. And there were a few knockoff games like Charles Barkley, Shut Up and Jam, and there are other few games that try to make it like
Showtime.
that. Like yeah. But NBA Jam, man, that joint was like the king when it came to basketball games. And even if you're not a fan of basketball, I
That's
knew
so true.
if you're watching this when you're watching this video, and even you guys in this on this podcast right now, NBA Jam, man. I know you got memories of NBA Jam. Everybody got memories of NBA Jam,
True.
bro.
Hey, man. I was not a basketball guy, but I will play the shit out of some NBA Jam, man. Like,
Right.
I do love that game, man. Me and my son, and we've had 4 people on it over here in the Mega Cage just
Oh man.
screaming at the game, dude. Screaming.
Yeah.
Spit flex on my glass from like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. It
I
gets
remember-
it gets intense.
It,
I was gonna say,
go
I
ahead.
remember being in Arizona, and I was a huge Phoenix Suns fan, man.
Oh.
Yeah, I was a Suns man, you know.
Are you
Barkley.
still a Phoenix Suns fan?
That's the only thing I've held on to Arizona is Phoenix Suns, man. But huge Suns fan. But back in the day, there was a shoe store or a sports store called Champs.
Mm.
Yeah.
Remember that Champs? It was back
Yep.
in
Oh
the
yeah.
day.
Sure.
And I remember going to the mall, man, and you know, they had mostly shoes and stuff, but we used to go there all the time, go look for new kicks and stuff. But I remember going in there one time, like, the hell, there was a crowd of people around an arcade machine. Look, there's an arcade machine in the
In
shoe store
Champs?
in Champs.
Wow.
Lo and behold, there's a 4-player NBA Jam Tournament edition. There was a
Ooh.
crowd of people. And me and my little brother were like, you know, Mom just dropped us off. It's like, hey, here's some money. I'll see you in 2 hours. I'm like, all right, cool. We just walked over there, man. We were just watching them, and they were just going at it, man. Trash talking, and they were good players, man. I just remember the number one thing is just the game was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun to watch people play it. It was fun to play it. I wasn't that great at it, but I mean, people would crowd around and watch people go at it, and they were trash talking. That was just one of those fun games, sports games, man.
No doubt.
It's a great pick. You know what's funny? It's funny to your guys' point about how am I going to have Scantron and have the word Tron in my name and not ever played the game Tron? That'd be like D playing NBA Jam and never picking the Hornets. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
Yeah.
as the equivalent.
Well, the thing that you got to remember too, NBA Jam, again, it was flashy, it was pretty, it did something that was totally different. It had a great, fun, arcadey feel, and it actually kicked off a big genre because right around that time, you had NBA Jam was one of the first ones that kicked off. Correct me if I'm wrong, but then you had like the Open Ice and all those style games that came out around that time too.
Yep.
Around that time.
Yeah.
So NBA Jam, with how well it did, it was like, oh, okay, we can kick off some other stuff. Why not use some other sports? And all those games, it didn't matter what they were. It was basketball, it could have been hockey, NFL Blitz, any of those games, and that kind of with that fun arcadey tune style, that it worked for all of those games. And NBA Jam is the one, specifically tournament edition for me, that lit off all of that. and it is iconic for an arcade game. Like anybody that plays that game, even if they're not good at it, they will watch it. Just like Ruben said, like it just looks great. People will sit there and watch it. It's fun to watch. It's fun to play. It's a great game.
It's a
It was
beautiful
fast.
game.
Yeah, like it was fun, fast. Like I think you're spot on, Dan, with the point of it. It felt like an arcade game, right? A lot of the sports games up to that point felt very kind of slow, and it was 5-on-5, and like this was just fast. You had the turbo button, like it was like insane dunks from the 3-point line. Like it was just fun. Everything about it.
Yeah, man. And hey, it was made by the original gangsters, my favorite. Midway, it's the Midway all over it.
You're gonna
see the real life characters, right? So it had like their faces. You know what I mean? It looked like them.
And I think they actually had a NBA Jam. They had a mode where I don't think it for the consoles, but they actually had an arcade cabinet that had Michael Jordan in it as well.
I want to say they had 3. There was something I was reading on. They either made 3 or 5 of those specific cabinets, and I don't know. I've heard conflicting stuff. I haven't seen it that the ROM has been found, but I don't think it's released to anyone.
I don't have it, man. I need to get my hands on that.
And again, it's like one of those unicorns that we're looking for. But I know you're absolutely right, dude. It is there. It's been there. I know there's still 2 of those cabinets in existence when I was doing some research on that one, and they're both privately held by collectors. And but dude, can you imagine that? Not a non-modded version, like straight from Midway, original ROM Jordan version.
That's crazy.
Because you look at that and it's like Scottie Pippen and Horace Grant. Where's my Jordan?
They gave you Pippen, Horace Grant, and I think maybe
Kukoc?
Who was the third person?
Was it BJ Armstrong or something?
BJ, That's it. No Jordan, bro.
I know.
But didn't it come out that
he was too expensive?
Yeah, right. The developers did something like it was something like if you played Detroit versus Chicago, there was like a cheat mode.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
like the computer will always come back and win against Chicago or something. Something ridiculous. Yeah.
I think that was in Coin Up too about Midway talking about that.
It was
like win Chicago. Because back in the day in the 90s, like everyone picked Chicago because they were just a dynasty, right? And it was
Midway was made
whenever they played Detroit.
The developer was like, nah. It's like it, and that was one of those. That was one of those urban legends too. Like you didn't know that really up until maybe what was it a few years ago only that the developer said no, that is a legit thing. You guys were right. It's not an urban legend. That is a fact. So great choice, DT, man.
That's a great game, man. It was a great pick too, for sure.
Solid.
So good. All right, Wolf, it's you, my friend.
Man, it's going to be hard to follow these last 4.
Dude,
if they were
so many.
No, you got it.
So many gems.
God darn gems. Well, we all kind of know one another, so I think you know where I'm going with this. I was 5 years old, and I told this story many of times. My father was a big video gamer. He's the one that got me into it. So he would take me to the arcades, and we would play Pacman. I loved regular Pacman. And I remember reading in magazines that it was going to come out for home consoles. I think it was 1982 on Atari. It was like this big, people were waiting in lines and like just all this stuff. And we got it. And it was poopy caca. It was awful. It's the first time I ever cursed in front of my dad. I dropped the F-bomb. I said, what the heck is this crap?
What?
Oh, yeah. I was so disappointed. I expected a arcade like quality game, and it just wasn't happening. And I was dejected. And I remember maybe it was 3 or 4 months later, I went into an arcade and I saw people playing this game. I'm like, oh, that doesn't look like Pac-Man. It was Mrs. Pac-Man. And let me tell you, that changed me and my life because I thought it was amazing just because it had different mazes. Pac-Man, it was the same maze. And now they changed it up and they had the bouncing fruit and you had to chase that and just the ghosts seemed like they had personalities, they had names, and just it had cutscenes, like it had acts, like you could see, like if you passed the first 2 levels. And it just was a game that I would play over and over in the arcades. It's still my favorite game to this day. Second I hooked up my home arcade machine, it's the first game I played. I saw the goddamn bezels on the side. I thought I was at the arcade. You know, you had the active marquee. It had the exact marquee, like you were standing there in the arcade. Just waves and waves of nostalgia. You know, I'm probably the oldest person in this Zoom room.
Seasoned.
So,
seasoned. Never old, buddy.
Seasoned.
Seasoned.
And I just love, and I know Ruben, you and I talked about this, but, you know, like Pac-Man, Mrs. Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Galaga, Dig Dug,
Mr. Do.
you know, Mr. Do, like all of those games like are amazing to me. But the one that stands out, and Joust, I'm thinking of Joust, I love. But Miss Pac-Man is definitely my favorite arcade game of all time. So I'm sure everybody's got, I mean, I had vinyl. I had the Pac-Man album. I remember in my room, I was in my underoos, and I was like, Pac-Man fever driving you crazy. It was like
that shit on wax, bro.
It was nuts.
You had the cereal too? Wasn't there cereal?
I had the cereal. I had
Cartoon.
anything Pac-Man I tried to get. Bedroom sheets.
That's awesome.
Did you watch the
Love
cartoon though?
Pac-Man now. Love the
Yeah,
cartoon.
Yeah, cartoon's good, man.
Dude, Wolf,
First of all, I'm going to call you out, Wolf, because you called me out the last time I was on this damn show. It's Ms. Pac-Man. First off, not Mrs.
Okay.
Oh,
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Bring out the grammar police, you
yeah,
a-hole.
that's right.
you,
You think grammar's a
a-hole.
game? You think this is a game?
Just because you called me out last time I was on
I
this
was
effing show.
teasing.
Yeah.
Come on.
This is awesome. Yeah.
But have you heard the backstory of how Ms. Pac-Man came to be?
Yeah.
So there are a couple of guys, right? And Miss Pac-Man, I almost called Mr. Pac-Man.
Puckman.
Mr.
Because
Pac.
Pac-Man was too easy. Like they found like you could influence a game. There was a lot of problems with it. So they started modding the chips
Mm-hmm.
to make it harder because they wanted the arcades wanted kids to keep playing it and make it, you know. And so they got caught, whatever, they were going to shut them down, but they actually, whoever, I can't remember who made Pac-Man.
Bally? Was it Bally?
Was it
Bandai?
I think
Anyways,
so.
they ended up using it and hired them. Like, it's like, and that's how they made Ms. Pac-Man, was like taking all the changes that they were
The
doing in
mods.
arcades to all the mods. And
They were from
implement-
MIT, right? Those kids?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it's
which is a
cool
crazy
story.
story in itself.
I think
Like
it is
how that
Valley.
came-
They
It's
they
valid.
like that though, right? Because
Yeah.
that made the arcades more money because
Yeah.
it was harder. So you put
Yeah.
more quarters in. It's
Yeah.
actually smart.
Good pick. Anybody else
Well-
got any Pac-Man stuff?
I do, Wolf. I don't know if I ever told you this, but at one point back in my home arcade in Michigan, in the Lair, I had an OG stand-up Pac-Man dedicated cabinet.
No. Oh
I
man.
did.
Nice.
Yep.
You're the OG.
Had to. That's one of those ones you had to have, huh? It's just that's so nostalgic, right, Scan? That's why you had to have it.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, at one point we were buying. I bought like a lot. I think I bought like 8 arcade games at once. They were all dedicated coin ops, and I had my dad go in with me. I was like, "Listen, man, I'm gonna hang on to these. I'll refurb them. I'll sell them. I'll pay you back whatever you put in." You know what I mean? I was just getting into it, you know. But one of them was an OG stand-up Pac-Man. My wife loves playing that. Actually, she's a big Pac-Man fan. She likes playing Pac-Man.
Mm-hmm.
But when you leaned too close to it, if you were leaning on it like real close, there was like a short on the playfield, and it would shock you a little bit.
Yes.
It had like a bad ground in it, and I was like, I can deal with it. You know,
Nice.
So funny. Oh man.
that's all I got.
All right. Is it? That's me then. Anybody else got Pac-Man?
That's you.
All right, so I'm going to bring this up because I know we're retro law, we're talking retro games, but this one's kind of just arcades that we feel are special to us, right? So I'm actually going to start it off with something a little different. It's a little bit of a newer arcade. When I say newer, though, it's like 2008 or 2009, I think. So it's been out for a bit, but it's also a light gun game. So I'm going to throw us out our first light gun game. And here's the thing. Quick little story on this one. This is a little game that I played, and I was talking about it for probably a good when I met most of these yahoos, 3+ years ago. I mentioned a light gun game that I loved, and nobody had played it. They're like, "Yeah, I don't know about that game," and I was like, "No, trust me, you're gonna want to play this game. When you play it, it does this, and you're like, oh, okay, sure." It wasn't until we all got together and we went out to an arcade and that machine was there, and I said, "Play it," that everybody that I told that this game was freaking awesome, they got to experience it, and it is Dark Escape 4D.
Yeah.
As far as light gun games go, that is the pinnacle light gun game that's out, even with the newer stuff that's out, like the Halos, the new Jurassic Parks. The reason why, and I'm just going to give a quick little step, it's 4D for a reason. So the sound is insane. It has the 3D glasses that you put on. It has blower motors. It has a big, huge rumble in the actual seat, and it has heartbeat sensors on the guns. So if you get scared and the heartbeat sensor picks up, it'll actually change where the track of the game goes, because it has branching paths. There's like something like 12 or 13 different endings that you can get through these different paths. So almost every single time you play it, it's a different path. So it's not only like some of the light gun games, which they'll have 1 or 2 paths. This one has so many branching paths, and it's just freaking amazing. And you won't really know, and you guys won't believe me until you sit down and play one. You sit down and play one, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Dark Escape 4D, you won't be sorry. It is an experience cabinet. It is a work of art. I've actually had the privilege of assembling this cabinet with a buddy of mine that owns it, and I was able to put it together and actually see how the cabinet is designed, and it is designed like a freaking tank, and it is a centerpiece. It is beautiful. The cabinet itself is absolutely beautiful from the outside. It's definitely will catch your attention. The lighting, the graphics, everything on the game, super fun. It's multiplayer. You got you and your buddy sitting in there playing together. It's a great game.
Maybe start looking out, see how much they're selling for right now, because it is such an awesome game.
I want to say I see them usually around 9 to 14, 15, somewhere around there.
I was going to say, this one is 18.
That's a refurbished one. Yeah.
So do you want a car or?
Yeah.
And it's the size of a car too.
A crazy game.
Yeah, I've never had the privilege of playing Dark Escape yet. I actually haven't played in a cabinet. I got it on the Megacade, but other than that, I haven't done it.
So on the Megacade, it feels just like a normal, like kind of like zombie shooter game, right?
Yeah.
No, when you get in the cabinet, again, we're talking the arcade cabinet. You get in that cabinet, it is freaking different. Like I hope at some time, that's one of my wishes. I know that you are a big light gun guy, Scan. If you get light gun games. Dude, if you get the opportunity to get into a Dark Escape 4D cabinet and play it, I want you to just play it, and just then we can talk and tell me what you think, because anybody that's played that, it doesn't matter if they're the only ones that'll complain about it are like little kids, because it's usually loud and it is very scary. It just is. Like there's lots of jump scares. It's 3D, so stuff's flying in your face and you're getting puffs of air at the same time. Totally a different feeling. But
I'm down with that.
Usually little kids will maybe be a little scared. Everyone else that's above the age of, let's just say 7 or 8, they're going to freaking love that game. I have not found one person that didn't like it. So any of you that haven't played it, dude, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's on my to-do list.
Ryan and I played it, didn't we, in Vegas?
Yeah, yeah.
Together?
Yeah. And then a couple of our other buddies took it over, and they went through and beat it and won't let us back on. So.
Yeah, Foster and Rimmer. Foster and Rimmer went through the entire game. They started playing it. They were like, holy crap, this is awesome. And they played the entire game in one sitting.
Yes, they did.
So good.
And Rimmer bought one. So.
Yeah, and Rimmer bought one. Exactly.
Yeah.
Has anybody else played it? Actually played the cabinet?
I've never played it, man.
Oh, dude, DT, same thing for you and Scan. I'm serious. If you get a chance, dude, I'm telling you.
So on a scale from 1, okay, so how would you rank it next to House of the Dead 2?
House of the Dead
Does it
2
blow House of the Dead?
blows
makes
it out of
House
the
of the
water.
Dead-
Scarlet Dawn blows it out of the water. House of the
Yeah,
Dead
You
4
can't
blows
even
it.
compare them.
You can't.
I agree.
It's a totally different experience. Like when you're in the cabinet with all the stuff that it does, it's totally different. You think it's just a zombie shooter. Totally different.
Wow.
It's crazy. Like you play it one time and then you play it another time. It's like, oh yeah, we usually go left, and then all of a sudden, because you know what's coming, so you might not have jumped as much. The path
Yeah.
will go right, and you go, oh shoot, there was hanging like dead pig bodies over here. Now I'm going into here, and it's like a freaking morgue. What? You know, and it just constantly is doing stuff like that to you. Oh, dude, so awesome.
It's
Oh,
amazing.
man. I'm like, I'm missing out, bro.
No,
Yeah,
you're not
sounds
missing out.
like it.
It's still out there in the arcades. Check it out.
Yep.
It's dope.
Oh, that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
It's dope. Anybody else have anything on Dark Escape 4D?
Never got a chance to play it, unfortunately, but next time I'm
Where
in
were we
Vegas.
that it was in the arcade? Well, what arcade was that?
That
was
was
Vegas?
It was
Vegas,
Vegas.
yeah.
It was
Vegas.
it was where was it before they closed it down?
GameWorks.
GameWorks.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
They're done.
oh, that's right. It was GameWorks. Yeah, you're right.
Wait, how old is that game?
2008 or 9, I think.
Is
think-
it really? Why
think
did
it's
I think
old.
that was newer? Yeah.
I mean,
Thought it
it's
was newer.
well, there's a lot of stuff that's newer, like the new Jurassic Park. It's not that new. It's like 2015, something like that.
Yeah, right.
If I had
we
the
had
space,
a-
I would buy the cab, bro.
What was that
I said if I had the space, I would buy the actual cabinet.
for? Which
But I
one?
don't have the space.
Which?
Dark Escape, bro.
Oh, dude,
Oh, it's
yeah,
huge.
It's
It's huge.
It's
Huge.
massive.
Yeah.
It is.
Massive.
It is. I mean, it's not like Star Wars Battle Pod huge, but it's big.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's just as big.
Yeah, you're
I mean,
right.
it's
It's
big.
yeah, it's a big it's a
Sits-
big cab.
Two people sit in it.
You can fit
right?
three.
I mean,
I could sit
Yeah.
between if Horton and Foster, they're big dudes. I could sit between them and still be fairly comfortable watching. It's
Yeah,
it's
that's
a
pretty
big
huge,
it's a
bro.
big cabinet.
2012 it came out.
Okay, yeah, see, a little
Yep.
bit on. So what? That's
Yeah, I thought it was newer for some reason.
11, 12 years old. I
Yep.
mean, it's been out for a bit. So again, not necessarily retro, but I didn't really make this one retro. This was more just like arcade games that you know that mean something to you. That one specifically is the newest one that I'm gonna talk about. My other ones are older, but that one is a work of art. That's why I decided to bring that one up.
Oh my god, the artwork on the outside is so
oh,
cool. It's could be
like
some
the
of the
zombie or
coolest
whatever.
artwork.
Like it looks like a
Yeah, they're
silhouette
like,
on the
oh,
back,
like
and
it's like shadowed, and it's
I
just
love
the
horror,
red and the
dude.
black. It's
Yep,
really
and the
amazing.
lighting. It's got like these two nice pillars on the side, and
Really cool.
it's really really neat. So, anyways,
Great
I
pick.
love the horror aspect.
yeah, it's really
Yeah.
good. It's really good. All right, Horton, next round.
was it back to me?
It's back to you.
So I'm just going a couple years from Tron, and I think like Tron was like the first. You know, they had other games that had wheels and that kind of stuff. Tron was kind of a different way of working a game. But then my next game was the game that really sucked me in too. It was like every time I went to an arcade, I had to play Tron. I had to then play this game when it came out, and it was Spy Hunter.
Oh,
And it was like,
Okay.
you know, there have been other game like car games, right? You know, Pole Position and others. And once again, I'm dating myself here. We're talking the 80s here, but it was Spy Hunter was that first game where not only could you shift and everything, but then add the element of weapons, right? And the graphics were great. It was like this top down, you're in this sports car, and you had regular cars on the road, but then you had not only your machine guns, but then you had this weapons van. You would get missiles or smoke or oil. So it added this whole new dynamic. So you had both. You could actually had a button for like calling your weapons van, right? And so you could call it when it was flashing. And so it was just this really cool game. You could change the speed. It had only a low and high, but it was just one of those games that I had to play. You know, the wheel and the yoke was really good, and it had the pedals. So it was a driving game, but it was stand up. I'd always heard they made sit down ones, but I'd never seen one. But it was just a fun game to play. And like we talk about replayability, and I've never beaten it. I've tried to play on my machine downstairs, but it's not the same without that yoke and having the buttons. And I've got a wheel, right, with more buttons and that kind of stuff, but it's just not quite the same. So that was a game that even now today, if I see it in the arcade, I've got to play it.
and you
It's just
remember the
fun.
music. The music.
Oh
you
yeah,
remember.
Tommy Gunn.
Yep.
Dude, I actually loved playing Spy Hunter. I didn't actually ever get to play it in the arcade, but What did it port to? Was it Nintendo? Did they have Spy Hunter?
I think they did.
They did.
What was
My brother and I.
there was like Spy Hunter 2 and stuff. It wasn't as good as the original, but yeah, it must have been Nintendo or I'm trying to remember what
I
they.
think it was
yeah,
NES.
It was
Yeah.
on NES.
My brother and I played the shit out of Spy Hunter on NES, man. I loved it. I bitched every single time I got an oil slick or like, every time you got some chintzy kill, man. I was so irritated when I played that game.
Yeah.
That's a great choice. I like it. You guys remember Spy Hunter? Anybody else?
God.
Yeah, they had it at my local bowling alley, and it was awesome, man. I loved having this. The smoke screen was cool.
Yeah.
You could
Smoke
just
up the whole
dust
screen.
somebody, right? Crop dust somebody right behind you.
Crop dust.
You remember what?
Like the artwork and stuff is because back then, like you thought of sports cars, it was like the Lotus Esprit and that kind of stuff. And it looked like a Lotus, like an all white Lotus, and it was like
Yeah.
So, and I love James Bond, right? All the old James Bond movies and stuff. So it's like this is sweet.
You know what else was
and
around?
It was obviously influenced by James Bond and his White Lotus, and I can't remember which movie it was.
And Knight Rider.
Knight Rider, yeah.
Yeah, with the gadgets.
Yep.
Yeah.
Big Knight Rider.
I'm trying to remember though. I
right
wonder
around
if
that
Knight
time.
Rider came out after. I wonder if Spy Hunter influenced Knight Rider. When did Knight Rider come out?
They had to have been out around the same time. I think they had to.
Knight Rider.
Is that mid 80s?
I think Spy Hunter came out in '84. It was like a couple years after Tron. Oh yeah, you're right. Knight Rider was 82 to 86.
82.
So, yeah.
I remember that feel when I saw it, and then because the dude on the marquee, if you added a darker hair to him, he could have been the Hoff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And he had the gloves on. You remember the holding the wheel? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, dude.
I remember the marquee or whatever. Didn't it have a girl with them or something too? Like they were holding guns, and it was like.
I think that was on the side. I think that was side art.
Was it on the side?
I think the marquee just had like him, and it said it's like Spy Hunter next to him, and he had like you could see the hand on the steering wheel. I think that's what it was. I don't remember exactly, but I'm seeing that in my brain.
Cool enemy cars too. I remember one car would come out, and these blades would come out of the wheel and try to pop your tires. It was really innovative. Very cool.
Sweet game, man. Sweet game for sure.
All right, Scan.
Oh, it's me again.
You
All
are.
right.
You're up.
All right. So my second pick is going to be another first edition OG game that I think everybody can relate to, and that is going to be Killer Instinct. KI1, first Killer Instinct. I probably melted my, again, it was a cabinet that I couldn't play all the time at the arcade, much like Mortal Kombat 1, because I was 12, 13 years old. Couldn't always get to the arcade. And I just remember my brother and I pouring over that game, trying to get like the 35 hit, alternate combos and stuff. Orchid tits, she would flash and the eyeballs pop out and stuff. It was just, it was the type of stuff that was like kids wanted to see, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Blood. You had the finishers, but they were unique. I thought that finishing moves were more like, what's the word? Environment related type finishing moves in a lot of cases. Get knocked off a building or something. But yeah, Orchid was my go-to. She still is my go-to to this day if I play KI 1 or 2, or if I play the, the Xbox version. Killer Instinct 1, beautiful game, man. Nice, dark music. You know what I mean? Where the menu alone is just like really, I don't know, just like dark. You know what I'm saying?
The music.
I feel like,
Yep, the music, dude.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. When you get choose, fight. Yeah, it's so ultra. Everybody remembers that stuff. Go ahead, DT. I saw you were about to say something.
Oh no. I was just humming the theme song. That's all.
Now this is gonna surprise a lot of you guys because my love for this game, I'm able to focus on that love outside of the fact that it uses fucking back to block.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
It's that good. It's that good. I could ignore this hatred for this move because the game is that good.
And I hate, man, I probably shouldn't talk so much shit about the back to block thing because I know that that's like kind of the go-to in all the fighting games. But like, I don't know, man. I love the game so much. The back to block doesn't bother me. I was never near as good at Killer Instinct as I am at Mortal Kombat, but it's just different strokes for different folks. I thought the cabinet artwork looked just silly, you know what I mean? Spinal on it and stuff. Spinal and Orchid were my top two. Orchid's always my top. So Killer Instinct all day. I actually owned, I'm talking a cherry Killer Instinct 2 cabinet in my arcade that I had in my basement back in Michigan. And that game, man, I got that cabinet for like $400 on an eBay auction. Someone was selling it. They had it like a store. It was like a candy store or something. I was like, they probably didn't realize what game they were buying for their store. I got it for $400. That was a steal. I think that game's like $2,500 right now.
Damn.
But yeah, so it was a cherry, and it was part of the reason why my Scantron layout that I really thought about when I was creating my layout for my Megacade is because a lot of those games, Killer Instinct being one of them, they had 6 buttons on the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you can keep the thumb and pinky buttons out of the way and only use them when needed. That was a lot of the thought behind coming up with that layout. So I think it's conducive to a ton of these fighting games. And not only that, a lot of the classics that only use 3 buttons on the top, or you only want to use the first 1 or 2 buttons. That was my thought process. And Killer Instinct was one of the reasons why I did it that way. So that's what I got to say about that.
Anybody else?
I just remember Killer Instinct. I wasn't very good at that one either. Once again, to your point, Wolf, a theme of me not being good at games. But the thing I liked about it, it was the first game I had ever played in an arcade where you get those huge like hit streaks and stuff. I can't remember of any other game where you could like it was both the most satisfying feeling and also the most frustrating effing thing in the world when it happened. Right. Yep. So it was like if you got this hit streak, it was awesome. If you got destroyed by one, it was but
Cinder.
Yeah, because if somebody
Cinder all day, baby.
Yeah,
all day.
Yeah, if someone knew what they were doing, man, they could just murk you halfway through. Like you got half a life bar, you're done, bro. If you're you have no combo breakers left, or I mean, I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, you only have so many combo breakers, or you have to like let them power back up before you can use a combo breaker again.
Yeah.
So if you didn't get combo breaker, you were done, bro.
Yeah, it was that game. That game was dope, dude. I remember that was one of the first ones too, where I was getting pretty good at fighting games. I was always better at Street Fighter, but that Killer Instinct, I was pretty close. Where I would get to the point to where I would do the kind of I would lure them in. You know, when you don't just, because usually people, when they first get into fighting games, you guys know what I'm talking about, where you just go on the attack most of the time. Well, the good fighters are the ones that'll attack a little bit and then they back off slightly. That was the first game that I actually started to learn to do that more and lure people into doing stupid stuff. And then it's like, oh, you're done messed up now. And then it hit off. So, yeah, I love that game. Great choice, dude. That game's dope.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I've always gravitated towards like the darker, more realistic gore. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's always been that way. I don't know, man.
But it also had Street Fighter moves too. Like Full Gore's uppercut was just the the Street Fighter uppercut. Yep. I mean, once you figure that stuff out, it's like, oh, okay. When I was playing a lot of Street Fighter. So, but they did a good mix of Street Fighter motions, but Mortal Kombat style button presses. So there was a good kind of they came together. They were very what was it? Synergy. They had a good synergy in that game. It's like they both came together and worked out well. I haven't seen it work out well that good on any other ones. Even like they tried to do that with kind of Primal Rage, but it didn't feel as good as Killer Instinct. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, as much as I love Primal Rage, it was a way clunkier game. You know what I mean? That's about the best word I can think of.
Yeah.
Love that game, though.
Fun fact, Leo da Vinci created a startup for my arcade, and it's got Saberwolf, my favorite character, like comes in, scratches the screen, and then it says Wolf's Arcade. It's pretty dope.
So
Oh, that's sweet, dude.
Yeah.
next nerd fact. This is the last one for Killer Instinct. They said, and they lied straight up. They lied when they made this game. It was Rare that did it, and they said they made it on the Ultra 64 hardware. This was right around when the N64 was being developed. So they said powered by Ultra 64. You can see that in the startup on the cab and everything. It was not powered by Nintendo 64. None of that was. It was a straight up PC, separate.
Yeah.
Totally different. So that's the nerd fact that I got. That's one of the games that you look at and you go, liars. But it's still awesome, so I'm good with it.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, I remember the hype around it was really big because people thought that was going to be exactly how it was on the new console, that Nintendo was going to drop. So people are like, well, you got to check out Killer Instinct, man. This is what the new Nintendo system's going to do. You know,
Oh, good point. I didn't think about that.
it's kind of like a little PR move I think they were doing, but when it came out, it obviously wasn't anything.
No,
near.
and it played better. So Killer Instinct Gold was on N64. I want to say, wasn't that what it was? No, MK
Yep.
Gold. Was it MK Gold?
Mortal Kombat Gold was Dreamcast.
Oh,
but
no, okay.
N64,
I think it was Killer Instinct Gold. I'm pretty sure that's what it was on N64. But I own both that one and the Super Nintendo version. The Super Nintendo of Killer Instinct version is better.
The Super Nintendo.
You guys played that one?
That's the Super Nintendo one is the one I played the shit out of. Like,
yeah.
it was on like in the arcade and stuff. I didn't even play it that much, but on the Super Nintendo, I played. I don't even think I bought the
Instinct Gold
N64 one.
was
Yep.
N64.
Yep. And black
We
card.
were.
Remember the
What's
black?
that?
Remember the black cartridge, Killer
Yeah, it was a
Instinct?
black
Oh,
card.
yeah.
And I bought that factory sealed and opened that bad boy for the Killer Cut CD that was inside it. No shame. Straight up.
Yeah,
That's
we
right.
were a Sega house growing up, and the thing that pains me the most is when I played games like Mortal Kombat or Killer Instinct. I have to admit they played better on the Super Nintendo. The sounds were more original.
Yeah.
The graphics were better. I felt like Sega kind of chinsed out with almost like a polyphonic ringtone type sounds on like for the music and stuff. But then you had the blood. So like their policy was no blood, right? Nintendo was no blood. So after they kind of broke ties with that, then it was like, oh, okay, well,
Yeah.
no arguing that it's better then.
Good
It
choice.
was a Nintendo Mortal Kombat was like gray. It looked like sweat or
It
something.
was sweat.
Sweat.
Yeah.
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 Hitting the sweat. All right,
Mortal
Rube.
Kombat 2 was better. Yep.
Oh yeah, Mortal
All right.
Kombat 2, straight up on Super Nintendo. Rube, what do you got for your
Yep.
next game, brother?
My next one is another old school main jam from my childhood. Again, the replayability is there. It's something I can go to, and definitely back in the day, it was all about getting that high score. It wasn't about completing the game. It was about getting that high score and throwing your initials down on the machine and being like, "What's up?" People come around like, "Oh, who's got the high score?" Our RV, what's up? But replayability for sure. And it was one of those, again, Atari games. You walked in and you see the side of this cabinet, man, and the artwork was just like, what a scary, man. I'm scared to play the game. But it's definitely my favorite main game of all time, and Centipede.
Ah,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
My favorite one, man. It's just every time I fire it up, it's frenetic, it's fast.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always trying to get that faster, better score. I love how the colors change. I love how the intensity changes. They introduce different creatures and stuff, and it always creeped me out. But I just thought it moved differently. It was just like so, cool. And the fact that he used the rollerball too was just like, wow, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
you like those hard games, man. That was an awesome game again, but it was so stinking hard. Like once you got past the first two boards, it was like impossible. It just got like faster and faster, and you're like,
It's brutal.
"Oh, dang."
Dude, that's ridiculous. If you think Centipede's hard,
Yeah.
you think Centipede's
do.
hard?
Sure,
Well, you really do
hard.
stink at games then.
You don't think Centipede was hard?
Centipede? No.
Yeah. Oh.
No.
God, we need a whole episode of banter just
Game
between
savant
Wolf
over
and
here.
Horton.
No, because we're straight shooters and we'll call each other out. I mean, Centipede
I
is
love
not
it.
hard. It's not a hard game.
Yeah, it's my wife's favorite. It's one of her favorite games to play, man. She holds all the high scores on all the machines I got in here that has Centipede on there. She has the high scores, bro, because she loves that game, man. She will play it for hours. I only play it to try to top a high score. I don't think it's as difficult. I don't know what Ryan level of playing is, but I don't think it's that difficult.
It's
But
not.
it can. It's really. It can be frustrating though.
It ramps up.
Yeah,
At some point, it
yeah.
ramps up pretty hard. But ironically, it was developed by a girl too. A girl made it.
Oh, is it?
I
Favorite game, man. It's just something about it. The artwork, the cabinet, the volcano buttons on it. It's just Millipede's fun too, but Centipede's, man, that's the OG.
Yeah, Centipede is goated, bro.
I didn't know you were gonna pick that game, Rube. Quick little short story. So that was my dad's favorite game, and just flashbacks, dude. Like my dad was never a real big video game player, but that one and Dr. Mario were those that I can straight up tell you the first game that my dad ever wanted to play on my arcade machine was Centipede. So yeah, it's a great game, dude. Good memories.
That's what's great about games, man. You know what I mean? You ever heard that story? I can't remember the game. It was a racing game. I want to say it was something on like an N64. And this kid and his dad played that game nonstop. But it was when you played by yourself, there was a ghost race of the person who had the highest score that you raced against.
Mm-hmm.
So the person who had the highest score, there was like, you were racing against them as like a ghost. And he grew up and dug out his 64 or whatever, and he played the game, and it still had his dad beating him, and he couldn't beat his dad. And then when he finally could beat his dad, he laid off because he didn't want to beat his dad. You know what I mean? It was just a cool story. You know what I mean? Gaming brings people together, man. Games that my son and I play together that we played when he was a little kid, and we'll still play to this day. Once in a blue moon, we'll still dig them out and play them. But it's getting fewer and further between. But it's good stuff, man.
Yeah, great game.
It's good stuff.
Thanks for sharing that, Dan Tron. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Good
Hey,
game.
if I can, I'll dig up the story and I'll send it to you guys.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing that story. I want to say, was it Extreme G? Was that it? Might have been.
It could be.
I think it was Extreme
I don't know.
G.
I don't know a lot about racing games on the older consoles and stuff, but whatever it was had the ghost.
Yeah.
Was a ghost car who always had the high score. So.
Yeah, for sure. Good choice.
But yeah.
Man. I like that. All right,
Yeah,
DT. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Scan.
No, you're good. We're good, man. We're good.
DT, that's you.
Let's roll with Cruise. I'll say one of my favorite, man. I remember Cruising USA, man. Just being able to just put your quarter in, pick a Ferrari or whatever you want to drive, and just, I don't know, drive on that Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, and then get to the end and see the girl holding the card. Yeah, man. Cruising USA, that was my game, bro.
Such a good game, dude. I love all the cruising games.
Yep.
All of them. Even up to the Cruising
Blast.
What's that? Cruising Blast, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's
Still
great.
is fun to play to this day.
Great cabinet too, dude. The cabinet art, the cabinet design is just beautiful. It was one of those ones that you'd see sitting there and you'd be like, "Yep, I'm playing that one." It was in the sit down section where there was like 4 or 5 sit down games right there, and always someone there playing a good arcade racer.
Yeah, man.
That was another game that everybody thought was going to be dropped on the new Nintendo console.
Mm-hmm.
It had the same screen.
Yep.
It was on the Nintendo 64. I don't know if it lived up to the arcade version of it, but it was on the 64 though.
Yeah.
It didn't, and it was freaking expensive. I remember I bought that game, brand freaking new. It was like $90 on
Yeah.
N64.
Was it
Are
really?
you
Yeah.
serious, bro?
Yep, there was a
My
lot.
God.
It was
No
expensive.
way.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was expensive because not all of them
90
came out.
bucks?
Yeah,
A
not all
lot
of
of those N64.
yeah, not all of them came
games.
out with the same price. Like some would be like $49, and then other ones would be that one I want to say was $84 or something like that is where it was, and then with tax, it
God.
brought it to like
Well,
90.
that's hard for, coming up. That's a lot of bread, bruh.
But it was
No
awesome.
DLC?
No DLC, and it was hard. It was a good port. I think it was a great port on the N64. It wasn't as good as the arcade, of course, but it was a great port. It was fun. It was playable. It was fast. So that was the big thing. You sometimes you get those ports and they're slow, but that one was a good fast port. But $90 back then for that game, I probably would have thought twice. Yeah.
No doubt.
Man, regarding Cruisin', one of the games that I was so hyped up about playing when I finally had my Megacade built, it was on my top list of games. I wanted Cruisin' Exotica.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
When we finally, I was like, how is this not after all this time we
It's still not.
don't have
It's still not.
a good playable ROM of that game, man.
It's kind of playable. It's like runners can run with 1 foot. You can kind of play that game. So,
yeah.
You just can't see the street. I think at this point now, the textures on the road disappeared, so it looks like your car is flying or something. But
yeah.
yeah,
It's a great pick, D. I'm down with that game.
All right.
How about you, Wolf? Do you got any memories on Cruisin', or you, Horton?
I do. My memories are kind of negative, though. I don't really love the N64. I have maybe 20, 24 games. That's one of them. I remember being disappointed. I don't know. I thought I agree with Dantron. I think it was a serviceable port, but I was expecting arcade, type of graphics, and it just, I don't know. It fell short for me. And then I remember reading all the magazines I was getting at the time, like Game Pro and Nintendo Power, and they were bashing the hell out of that game when it came out with ratings. It was getting 4 out of 10, 3 out of 10. What the hell is this? And guess what? I kind of agree. I didn't think it was that great.
But you liked the arcade, though, right? The arcade cabinet.
D. Thomas couldn't have picked a better selection. The arcade is classic. I love it. It's like Outrun but better to me. Music, graphics, everything. It's really one of my favorite racing games of all time.
Up there with Rush for me. San Francisco Rush and Cruisin' USA. Those
I
are the
would
two.
pick that one too. And did you guys know this? Did you guys know that there was a split-second arcade racer? Did you guys know that?
No.
We
Yeah,
did. We did when somebody sent me freaking pictures of it from a cruise ship.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Sucker.
I might have dropped a little Easter egg about that.
Man.
When we were sailing.
I've never seen one in my life. That was the first time, bro. Just since we're on the racers.
Damn, that would be one to get.
I know, right?
Wow.
We were both like, man, we got to get a picture in front of these, yo.
Yeah.
Damn.
Just that picture made me feel like I was there. I was like, oh man, Dantron had a little bit of an impact. Split second. Man.
Yeah, that game's awesome.
Yeah. All right, Wolf, that's you.
Damn, it's my turn already? What the hell?
Well, we're sitting. We got still a few more games to get through. I don't want us to be up until the wee hours of the morning.
All right. So if you close your eyes and imagine this, you're in an arcade and you're seeing graphics like Joust and Dig Dug and Pacman and Donkey Kong and Food Fight and Tempest and Pole Position. Okay. And then 1 year after Miss Pac-Man came out in 1983, I went to a party at Chuck E. Cheese and I had my freaking pants and underwear blown off at 1,000 miles an hour. I couldn't believe it. It was the greatest graphics I ever saw. It was movie quality. It was the first arcade game that was 50 cents. I couldn't even
Yeah.
believe it. There were lines that were like 15 or 20 deep to try to see this game. And the game, I know, has a special place in Dan Tron's heart. It's the theme of his arcade. It's one of my favorite arcade games of all time. It's Dragon's Lair. Man, did that game knock my socks off.
He spins the camera.
Yeah, but and it's so funny because it's really, the gameplay is horrible on that game, right? So it's all
hard.
Yeah, that is hard. The graphics and sound are what gets you, but it's all, like timing. You see that little yellow spot where you could go up, down, left, right. But to me, it wasn't about the gameplay. It was about the story. It was about Dirk the Daring trying to rescue Daphne the princess from the evil wizard Modric's castle, and all his deathly traps and stuff around. So cool. Even to this day, I still make sure I play it on my Steam Deck, which I have right here. Play it on the arcade. It's just, to me, it's timeless, and then they came out, became so popular. They had like Space Ace, I think, came out next. And then they had Dragon's Lair 2. But at that point, I think people were getting tired of the quick time type of controls, and it kind of like died out, those type of games. But super cool. I mean, the guy is an ex-Disney guy, I think, that made the game, Don Bluth. So he's like a really good animator for Disney, and it's just, I don't know.
It was the first Laserdisc game.
First Laserdisc game.
Yeah.
There was a cartoon series, I think, in 1984 that came out. I mean, Dragon's Lair was a big deal, man. It kind of revolutionized arcades.
I would like to first say thank you to Mordrock for keeping his castle cold. No, it was the dragon was the first one. So yeah, so I want to say thank you for having the air conditioning on for all the Daphne scenes. Just as a young man, it brought me from boy to man at that time. It made me so happy. It had such a huge impact on me that I have my arcade machine with that artwork. I freaking love that game. I've beat it I don't know how many freaking times. It's just a great game. Nostalgia for that thing is just crazy. It plays way better now if you're able. The cabinet's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. But if you're gonna play it now, I personally believe the Steam version is the best version. Buy it on Steam, play it there. You can get it. That's like a combo deal with what was it, Space Ace. Just it's a great game. Wonderful choice. Anybody else got their Chuck E. Cheese memories? Because that's where mine is too.
Well, I mean, I was like, you will absolutely blown away.
Yeah.
I was like, what is this? The problem was it was so expensive, right? And like it was 50 cents or whatever. So I mean, it was some astronomical cost, and it was like it was so hard.
Yep.
It's like I can only get through like 3 things, and it's like, well, I can't. All my money's gone. So I can't do anything else. So I didn't really ever play it or beat it until like I remember in the early or right when the iPad came out, or whatever. They had a version on the iPad, and I was like, first time the graphics were great. It was so reminiscent. It was before I got into MAME and all that stuff, and it was just like, this is awesome. Like I finally got to play through it, because otherwise. It was such a cool game, but it was so hard and cost so much money. It was almost impossible to play through in the arcade.
Yeah, you watch it. You'd watch somebody else beat it that had it all memorized. That's what I did the first time. I watched them beat it. I just sat there and watched the movements. I was like, okay, that's what he's doing right there. All right, taking notes. Oh, this is what we're doing. Right here. The night one. It's like, okay, so it's forward, back, left, right, left. Forward, back, so I was doing that. I was like jotting them down, arrows. Yeah.
What sold people on that game too was the attract mode. Like if there was no one at the arcade, because like Ryan said, it was too expensive for me. So I would just watch the attract mode. Join Dirk the Daring as he tries to, and it was like quick cutscenes and like you see the platform going down, and he's on the rapids, and you're like,
and the Lizard King.
Yeah, this is amazing. Very cool marketing for that. Like, I don't know, they definitely stole a lot of money out of kids' pockets back in the day with that game, because, like Rye said, You put your 50 cents in and you're like, holy shit. You had like a minute and a half of gameplay if you didn't have stuff memorized. You were done.
Yeah, and then there was difficulty settings in the cabinet as well. So it would punish you. There was a certain setting that if you pressed either the correct direction at the wrong time or the wrong directions, then it would penalize you. There were some, though, that you could set it to where they would allow you to press the right direction a few times before, you'd hear it go boop, 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 and then it would still work. And it would only go if you press the wrong direction. But that was a setting in there so that's why if it ever seemed like it was really hard sometimes, like it's like I don't have any leeway on this, because they did it that way. They had that setting set in the arcade cabinet. So suckers.
Bastards.
All right. So anybody else have Dragon's Lair?
I have only played it a little bit on my Megacade, and to your point, to all of your points, I played for a minute and a half, and I didn't even put a fucking quarter in it, and I was like done. I was like, you know what, man? I'm like, I tried to get through, and it just never really was my game, but I have respect for it. I know it's a huge game, but I got to tell you, when you were leading up to the reveal of your game, I didn't know if you were approaching a glory hole or an arcade game, man.
Both. It could be both.
Man, I wish it was a glory hole.
Man,
that's my next game pick.
Yeah, the next game. Yeah. Jeez. All right. So I'm next, and what I'm going to talk about is what I feel is my favorite actual like car driving game. And I won't say that I'm biased, because I loved this game before I actually owned the cabinet. The cabinet is freaking fantastic. Any of the true drift racing players, they prefer these older cabinets because of the force feedback on them. They feel heavier. The game itself just feels more like you're in a heavier car. Road conditions you can feel, all of that stuff, and it is actually, I'll spin it around and show you. Initial D version 3s. That is my next pick for actual arcades. They're freaking dope. I have working card readers, so you could actually save your actual stats on it, your unlocks for your cars, all of that. You can race against your friends. It was just a great freaking game. The first time you start playing it, though, you're gonna be like, oh man, this is awesome. But you're going to want to keep playing it, and you're going to realize, holy crap, I started to stink because I'm sweating so hard, because you're going like this with the wheel back and forth. Dude, it's so much fun. If you like the anime, too, that was a thing for me, too, is I actually like the anime. I don't know how many other people watch it, but it is a really good kind of underdog story. Guy doesn't know that he's really as good as he is. His dad was a great racer. He didn't know that, but his dad was kind of training him how to be a good racer without him knowing it by delivering tofu all these years. And it's just
there's a story.
Yeah, and there's just a really
I didn't know that.
Oh, dude, it's dope. And then all of a sudden he just kind of gets wrapped into this race, and his dad sells it on. He's gonna allow him to fill up the car for gas, and so he can take this girl out on a weekend. He's like, fine, Dad, I'll go and race this guy and beat him on the mountain. And he just beats this dude that shouldn't have been beaten, and everybody's going, what the heck just happened? So. And the actual arcade cabinet kind of follows that story. Like if you watch the if you watch the anime, the people that he races in the anime, you race those same people with the same cars in this. So it's freaking dope. I love everything about this arcade. There's nothing that I don't like about it, actually. It's just a great arcade racer, but yet it still has the feel. Like I had some of my daughter's friends over playing it just earlier today, and they're like, yeah, so this is going to be great for my because you're getting to the point to maybe starting to do some driving for, taking their driving school and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, no, you don't base your driving off of what you're going to learn on this arcade machine, because if you're driving like this out on the streets, there's going to be problems. But the pedals felt awesome. The brake, actually, if you guys played this style of cabinet, so this is I have the version 3s, but it would be the initial D1, 2, or 3 were on this original cabinet. And even the brake pedal has like a brake pedal feel. It's not just like a normal pedal that slams down. It actually has the push and spring, like there's actually a master cylinder that you're pushing against. So it feels realistic, and it's just just it's a great game. If you guys get a chance to play it, I love it. And anybody else play this cabinet before?
It's fun because I've never seen it in an arcade. Like I've never seen the cabs or anything. But you hyped it up. And the thing that got me when you first started talking about it is basically that's my high school car was the 1981 Toyota Corolla hatchback like that. So I was like, well, shit, I gotta try this thing, right? My car wasn't like this, but it was probably the first racing game that felt real. It was more realistic, right? You were talking about Crusin,
a good mix.
Game and all
it was
that
a good
stuff.
mix.
It's like those are real fast and like arcadey, right? Like where this felt a little bit more like a sim-ish than like arcadish in some ways to me. But
yeah,
I got to race my old high school car, which was cool.
Yeah, it's a fun cabinet. Did anybody else get a chance? Because I actually still see these out in arcades. I see this actual cabinet out. And what's funny is I'll jump on it sometimes and I'll go, who do I want to play? I'll throw in the code to unlock a special Subaru, and then I'll just I'll sit down next to somebody and they're accepting challengers and I'll go, nah, I'm not gonna do it. And then Elise, my daughter, she'll look at me and go, race him, Dad. I was like, all right, I'll sit down and I'll go.
Yeah, you gotta do it when
and all of a sudden it pops out and like there's a random car and they're like, where was that car? And they'll look over at me like, oh, I don't know, it was just on here. And they just freaking wreck them. It's so fun. It's so fun. You gotta have all your own cabinets. Everybody that's watching this, get at least one cabinet in your house. It's just
bro.
nothing like it.
I've been saying this. It's worth it.
Yeah. I'll put
get
it
that
on
game. Get that game that you always wanted. Now, Larson, don't you have like a significant story behind Initial D that has something to do with a friend?
I do. So just quickly, I won't go too deep into it, but a really good friend of mine, sadly, he's no longer with us, but there was a time when he was struggling, and I had him come, and he hung out with me and stayed with me for a little bit. And he, again, we went to GameWorks. I live in Washington State. The first original GameWorks was in Seattle. I took him there, and this was one of the games that he loved and that we played together. And there's actually I have pictures of him and I playing this game, and the reason why we played it there is because I liked it already before, and I said, man, Ryan, you got to play this game, and he freaking loved that game, and so that's another reason why this was one of the cabinets I absolutely had to own. There's just certain things in life that mean more than just the game itself, right? It's the nostalgia. We've talked about this before. It's what it does. It's the key to unlock those memories sometimes that that you wanna hold dear and that are always there with you. And so this is one of those things for me, and I can share it with my own kids and their friends that come over that might never have experienced this. And it's a fun cabinet, and yeah, it does have a special place in my heart outside of the fact that it's just a great game. So
I have to say I totally agree with everything you just said, and to the whole everyone should own like one real dedicated cabinet. There's nothing like that nostalgia of a game that you absolutely love, and then you get it in its truest, purest form, and you play it the way that it was supposed to be played. There's no main machine that's going to emulate that. There's no, you know what I mean? Like, that is the OG, man. That is how it's just, I can't explain it. And I've kind of been down that rabbit hole most of my adult life. And I say, can't recommend it enough. Got to have an OG cab.
So I want to talk to Dan just for a quick sec. So it's 12. Do you want to do a third round?
Yep.
I mean,
we'll just go fast. We'll go fast. We'll go fast. We'll go fast. We'll go fast. So Horton, last one. We're up.
Okay.
Doing our last swing.
I'll go quick.
Lightning round.
So there's only a couple of games that I've ever beat in the actual arcade. First one was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And then my third pick was the second game I probably beat in the arcade. And it was very similar to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because basically you beat the game just by continuing to put quarters in.
Yes.
And it was The Simpsons.
Oh,
and
yes.
I actually, as much as I love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Simpsons for me was a little bit better because it had this sense of comedy. Like, it was just funny. And it was like, you know, everyone grew up with the show. It's still today being played, right? So the integration of the characters, like you could pick up alternate weapons. Like, you know, each one had, I think, you know, Bart had his skateboard, Lisa had her jump rope, Marge had her vacuum. But then you could pick up like, you know, the slingshot or the hammer or whatever else. And then like the comedy and like even like the boss battles were hilarious. Like the first, I think in the
Barney.
first board, like the boss was like it was like a wrestler. He comes down, his pants fall down, and then like there's one of the bosses that was at Moe's. He's like drunk behind the bar. He wakes up and he's like breathing fire because he's got so much booze on his breath. Like it was just a fun, hilarious game, and it is one that I beat. And you could team up together. Like Bart would get on your shoulders, and
it's
like,
4-player.
Like,
it was a four-player cabinet.
Yeah. So it was just a fun game that you could just play through with your friends if you had enough cash.
Great choice.
Yep.
I love that game. The Simpsons is a great 4-player game. I think you touched on everything that needed to be said about it because it just made it unique. It was like Ninja Turtles, but there was more aspects to the game, and you had the Simpsons comedy along with it.
Yeah.
That reminds me, I need to play that game more often, man. I sleep on that game more than I should.
It's fun.
Definitely. Great choice, Horton. Great choice.
Yep.
All right, Scan. Throw it at us.
It's me.
Yep, it's time for you to just hit us right in the face with it. I already know.
All right, let's see here. I'm playing Golden Tee right now. I've been playing it the whole time I've been on this Zoom. I have played Golden Tee for probably 20 years. Absolute favorite. It's one of my absolute favorite games. I'm not going to say it is my favorite game. It's one of my absolute favorite games. I know a lot of it's either for you or it's not. A lot of people just don't care about it, but if you do, the things I like the most about it is it has stood the test of time. We're talking the first Golden Tee came out in 1995.
Oh.
That game is 30 years old. A lot of people don't know this. And I ended up buying my own dedicated cabinet in 2006, which was the Golden Tee Complete. So I owned that cabinet. Back then, you used to hook it up with a phone cable to play online, right?
Mm-hmm.
They still were using phone cables. It's an unbeatable game. And they keep making new versions every year. And it's, you know, the home arcade network with this game is bigger than any other network that I can think of. The people that own these home cabinets, you know, you're still playing online, you're playing invitationals and tournaments, whatever. There's pay to play, you can win money. It's just an unbeatable game. You know, when you play a game like a million times over, you can beat it. You know what the credits are. You know what the roll credits are going to be. This is an unbeatable game, just like real golf in real life. Not too complicated. Golden Tee. I've been playing it forever. Absolutely love this game. I know some of you guys do. I know some of you guys don't, but I can't get away from it, man. Love this game.
You miss a bit. I mean, it is the ultimate bar machine. Yep. Like I played a shit ton of Golden Tee in my life. Always at the bar with my buddies drinking. So
it's
just
awesome.
like golf.
You can go to, everyone knows, anyone go to any bar, just to, like you said, and there's a 50-50 shot there's going to be a Golden Tee machine in that bar. You know what I mean? It's just a staple bar game, pocket, well-done game, and I will play it for the rest of my life. 100%.
It's unique in that way, right? It's not an arcade machine. Like, it's not in arcades. Like, it's in bars.
Right,
Because it's a game you can sit around, talk. It's not, you don't have to be paying attention the whole time. Like, it's just a great game to be chatting and playing.
It's funny that I would play a game that involves drinking, right? Weird.
Well, you know what goes with Golden Tee? Jaeger. Jaeger and Golden Tee go together like ham and burger. Exactly.
Oh, man.
For sure.
Peanut butter jelly, man. Speaking of which, are we doing a Jaeger shot?
Yeah.
Anybody else got their Golden Tee quick little story on it? I know you do, Rube. You have a Golden Tee yourself.
Yeah, Rube's got one. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's my third pick, to be actually honest.
Oh!
Yeah.
My bad.
I was late to the Golden Tee game for sure. But again, Wolf knows me, Rye knows me pretty good, Dan. You guys know me. I'm all about the high score thing.
Oh yeah.
Unbeatable game.
Yeah, or low score in Golden Tee for that matter.
That's right.
And I'm kind of wacky, you know, since I got those main roots, man. I like to play the old ones, man.
I still get
99 Classic, 2000. You know, I'll just get in them old course, and I'll just be hammering out one course for like a week, man. And I'm gonna conquer this son of a bitch. And you know, but there's something gratifying. It's like, oh man, you know, hole five by the beach, I finally birdied that thing, you know, or you know, getting an eagle, or you know, and other players just start getting eagles, and you're like, you know, going over the trees and doing a little trick shot. And so
I feel like it's the ultimate trackball game, man. It is, and trackball is so precise with this game. If you pull it back a certain direction and forward a certain direction, if you're off by a hair, man, you're gonna mess that shot up. And the thing to your point, you were talking about going back and playing the classics. The thing that I love about Golden Tee is every year when you buy the update, you update your home cabinet. If you play online, they release a new remastered course that is a classic course. And that is awesome. It's like a little dip of nostalgia that comes every year. You get a couple new courses that are remastered. And you know, before I forget, hold on, I'll show you guys this real quick, because my first pick was MK1. So in the spirit of tonight's conversation, I have MK1 up and running on my MK2 cabinet. So I got that JAMA switcher in there. So I'm going to play a little MK1 when we're done with this.
Nice.
I'm gonna go play all these games when we're done.
I know,
I'm
right?
Really gonna go
You're taking notes.
Turn my machine on and play some games.
Nice.
I'm gonna go to bed after we're done. But I'm gonna play them tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, but the last thing I want to say is, you know, Scan nailed it, man. I think it's probably the best trackball game there is. And Ryan, that's funny how Ryan, you don't see it. You don't see that shit at Galloping Ghost, but you go the little crap bar down the street, probably gonna see it in the corner. So it's just funny. It's not an arcade. You don't see one next to a Galaga machine, but it has its place. It has its place. And I just love hitting those old courses and trying to beat those courses and trying to get better scores on the old ones. But you asked me, Scan, if I've been playing my new one. I haven't, but I've been playing the old games.
There you go. Yeah, I still get on the Mexican. I'll play Golden Tee Complete just for a little nostalgia.
Yeah, yesterday I was playing Golden Tee Complete, Mystic Springs or some shit. Yeah, I was having a couple of beers, making sure my kegerator works. And my old lady comes on, she's like, "Where are you?" I'm like, "Man, I was trying. This course is killing me." You know, just having a couple of beers playing and still having a good time, man. So Golden Tee, man.
It plays really good.
I'll be playing that when I'm lying dead, before I'm dead.
And quickly,
absolutely.
Quickly, and to your point, like Horton, when you guys all said it, like you don't see it in the arcades. Scan, remember when we were in Vegas, we were in that arcade that had pinball and everything, and you and Arcade Adam and I walked out to the bar that was next door just to get a drink. And what did they have sitting in there? We played some freaking Golden Tee. We were playing that PGA. You remember that? It wasn't in the arcade. It was in the bar next to the arcade. Yeah. Oh, dude.
That's why, dude, that's so funny. And I was talking about the TV. I've gone through a couple TVs because of the lag or the latency. It depends on the TV. And in that bar, I remember experiencing that lag. And I'm like, this is a brand new, expensive ass machine.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, good point. Yeah, that was fun. That was good, man. And as far as seeing them in any arcades, you're starting to see them when you go to like retro arcades. You'll see like a Golden Tee Complete in a retro arcade
next to the bar.
Yeah,
next to the bar.
Next to the bar. Then you go in the bar, they got the PGA or the freaking Golden Tee Live.
Exactly. You know? Yep. All right, Rube, what you got?
One last thing I wanted to say.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Was Scan bring up a good point. Because I've had buddies come over and be like, "Oh, you know, I'll play golf. You know, I want to try the Golden Tee." I mean, they may have played it 1 or 2 times, and you know, they have trouble with it. You know, it's too sensitive. And I'm like, hey man, it's a game of finesse, man. You gotta have the touch, dude. You can't just come in like a Neanderthal. You gotta have the touch, bro.
You do.
They don't get it. They're like, I'll just whack it I'm gonna get it. It's like, oh, it's too like you gotta have the touch. And then once you start seeing that this, you gotta have some style to it, then you're like, okay, I get it. I get it. But some people just try to hack at it. I'm like, oh, they don't last, man. They're done.
Unbeatable game, man. A lot of people just want to crush that trackball as hard as they can, and that is not what it's about. Don't get me wrong, I'll hammer the trackball when I got to hit it far, but that is not what it's about. A lot of people are like, oh, hit the ball further than you, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm 20 strokes under you. It's like,
yeah, Rube, you're up. Your last choice.
I think
that was your choice? You're gonna go with that?
That was mine.
Okay.
Yeah, I picked the same one. So.
All right, DT. How about you, brother?
Samurai Shodown.
Oh shoot.
Okay. Samurai Shodown, man. Straight to the point. I used to want to be a ninja back in the day, watching all those kung fu flicks growing up. I'm pretty sure you guys used to watch a lot of Chinese kung fu flicks. Everybody wanted to be Bruce Lee. I wanted to be a ninja and all that good stuff. Samurai Shodown, you pop that quarter in, play with Hayamaru or Hanzo or any of those guys on that game, man, and it just, there you go. There you go. You're holding it just like that. Yeah. I just wanted to be a ninja, man, and just playing that game was just a lot of fun. It looked great, the graphics, the way you can cut people in half, the way you can stab them and they just stand still and blood just skeets out. It was really cool.
Skeets out.
Yeah, the blood was skeeting out, bro. Yeah, Samurai Shodown. That's my third pick of one of my fondest memories that I can just remember going to Pizza Hut playing that game, man. And to have it on an arcade machine now is just, I don't know, none of us would have thought 30, 40, 50 years ago that we would be, as an adult, having an arcade, let alone this dude scan with dang on, and you too, Dan, Tron, with two big racing cabs in your crib, and look at us now. Look at us now.
Yeah,
that's
funny. I never saw a Samurai Shodown in an arcade either. Like, for whatever reason, once again,
Really?
It was a Neo Geo. It would have been a Neo Geo
Wow.
cabinet. It would have been a big red or a gold.
Yeah. We didn't have a Neo Geo cabinet.
That's why.
I didn't get to play a
it
lot
was
of
in
those.
every Neo Geo cabinet had Samurai Shodown in it. Just about that and Metal Slug.
But you hit my nostalgia button in with the because every Saturday on USA was Kung Fu Theater. And I used to watch those old Kung Fu movies, and God, I loved it so much. Just like
yeah, we all wanted to be ninjas, man.
Yeah, dude.
At some point,
especially after watching Three Ninjas.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, Three Ninjas.
Or Ninja Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze with Vanilla Ice.
Yeah.
Go Ninja, go! But anyways, D, that game was awesome because it was a fighting game, but it was a weapons fighting game, which was pretty unique at that time.
Yeah,
that was before like Soul Calibur and stuff. So that was what was different for me. There was still kicks and stuff, but it was more weapon based. Remember, there was that one dude that had like the spiky chain that you could, the big fat dude, and
Earthquake. Yeah,
and then the staffs and stuff. It was very, very cool, and it had the blood, like you said, was just skeeting out of eye sockets. It was really, really a cool. Really, really a cool game, dude. That's a great choice. I never even thought about that again. I'm like, I love me some Neo Geo cabinets. That's gonna be a cabinet I'm gonna get. That's one of the ones that's on my list is a Neo Geo cabinet. I want a 4-slot at least, and then legit, like, cause I have a AES Neo Geo. You know that already. But I love those Neo Geo games, dude, and I want a cabinet to play it on. So
wow, good luck.
Yeah, I know. They're not super expensive. Neo Geo cabinets are all over the place.
No,
like
that's right.
They're all over. You can get them. There's lots of parts.
Affordable.
Very affordable. The games
console
too.
itself is still like $500.
Yeah, dude. The game, like, because there are two difference. There's the MVU, which is the arcade machine versions, and then there's the AES cartridges, which are for the console. The AES ones are like probably 8 times more expensive than the MVS ones. So the MVS ones you can get for dirt. You could get like a Samurai Shodown, a nice Samurai Shodown, the actual arcade one, for it might be $50-$60. Like, they're cheap, whereas the actual version, if you get it for the home console, it's going to be $1,200 to $1,400.
That's
right?
crazy.
Yeah. So, but yeah, dude, great choice. Frick, that's such a good game. Such a good arcade too.
Dope game. I've only played it on my Megacade. Never played it anywhere else.
Yeah, same.
Still awesome. Great, dude. You threw me off with yours. That is out of left field, and I love it. Great pick. Great pick. Bringing in the heat. All right, Wolfman, what's up?
Well, just like a ninja, Ryan swooped in the darkness of the night and stole one of my games.
Oh, did I?
Well,
My
it's
bad.
okay. You talked about it, but you took away the whole surprise, so I'm not going to talk about it. You talked about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, sorry.
No, which is fine. I'm glad you
Huh?
did, because I think Turtles and Simpsons, they go kind of hand in hand. They play the same way.
Absolutely.
They were cartoon, pixel perfect from the shows, all that good stuff, 4-player cabs. So I'm actually kind of torn. So I hope this is okay. I'm just going to throw out 2 arcades because I can't pick between the 2. And one is Gauntlet, which came out in 1985, which was a 4-player quarter muncher. I have very fond memories being at the Palace roller rink playing Gauntlet and going through money like it was like water. And the second arcade cabinet is Super Off-Road from 1989.
Yes.
What was it? Iron Man Stewart Super Off-Road? Is that what it was called? It had the 3 steering wheels, the red.
Love that.
Such
That's why I got 3
Yellow.
spinners on my arcade machine.
such a
Was
great
to play Super Off-Road.
Those 2 are like equal to me. I can't pick which one I liked more, but I'm sure everybody in this call has some sort of memory about either one of those 2 games.
dude.
Love that game.
Love
Love.
Off-Road. Oh, man, I can tell you straight up, my absolute favorite memory for Off-Road actually has been recent, and it was playing Super Off-Road with 2 guys on this call right now, Ruben and Horton. They both freaking stomped me, but I had such a freaking blast. We played that game at the Pinball Hall of Fame. We were just gonna play it once, and we ended up playing it like 6 times. It was so cool. We were leveling up our cars. Oh man, it was, dude. I will remember that for the rest of my life. I had such a great time playing that game with you guys, and I'd played it before, but it was just something different about it. Took me back to those years of just being young and dumb, having fun with your friends in the arcade, forgetting everything else in the world, and just being there, getting my butt whooped by my buddies. It was just, dude, it was so good.
All I was missing was a cooler of beer, man. We probably would have been there another 2 hours. I'd be
Dude.
playing that thing still. I like just keep going, man. Keep going.
So
Yeah.
good.
I got a good off-road story, man. We have this local retro arcade here called the Replay Museum. I live in Tarpon Springs, Florida. So downtown Tarpon has this retro arcade there, and I was there with my family, like it was me and my wife, my kids. We were walking around. We went in there, and I was like, listen, I'm telling you, the 3 of us got to play this game. It was just me and my wife and son at that point. Dude, they had a blast playing that game. So then when I started dipping into the MAME stuff and modding out machines, we were playing it on at one point I had like a 3001 PCB board in my Mortal Kombat 2 machine. We were playing Off-Road on that. My son and I were modding out so you could buy, you bought all the nitros. So when we would play together, all you saw was a bunch of really good fart puffs all around the track. That's all you saw. It was like, dude, but like, hey man, I'll play anyone in some Off-Road, man. I got a little game in some Off-Road. I'm down next time we're together.
Yeah.
Next trip.
Yeah.
But those are both great. Well, like I said, TMNT, that was the first game I ever beat in arcade, and then Off-Road I absolutely love. Like literally, like I said, I got 3 spinners on my machine just to play that game. That's the only reason
I specifically send Off-Roads that I see that are in good condition. I text them to Horton and say, hey, this one's close. This one's close, man.
Yeah,
because that's one that I never had a want to own until I actually, believe it or not, played it with you guys, and I was like, this is one I could add to my arcade machine or my arcade when I build it up a little bit more, for sure.
Real fun.
Great game. All right, so anybody else have anything on Off-Road, or am I gonna wrap this thing up with the last one?
Or Gauntlet.
Gauntlet? You want to talk? Yeah,
Those
or
were my
Gauntlet.
2.
Yeah, or Gauntlet.
Oh yeah, Gauntlet. Yeah, Gauntlet was awesome. Like, but it was one of those games. It just never ends, right? So it was the stereotypical quarter muncher from the standpoint of like I don't think there is an ending to the game, right? So it's just you just go forever.
Yeah. Just
I
throw
don't know.
quarters
That's a
out
good
there.
question if there is an ending or
Just
not.
throwing
I know it's
quarters
a
at it.
jumping
No one ever
thing.
got to it, so
Nope. Just
Yeah.
just quarters all
Well,
day, every day.
Nobody thought there was an ending to Tetris, so you never know.
and,
that's true.
and there
That
wasn't
is
an
true.
ending to
Yeah.
Tetris. It just broke. That's how it ended. Like
Well, that's the end game for those type of arcades, right? It's
Yeah.
the crash screen.
yeah.
Didn't some nerd just beat it for the first time?
Yeah,
Yeah, kid.
yeah.
Yeah.
Still
It was
to
like
me.
the same kid that like mastered Microsoft Word and got an award or some shit.
That sounds about right. Cool. All right, so for my last game then, if nobody has anything on either one of those, again, not any bias. I like this game because I own this game, and I'll flip it around here in a second. I love it. It is actually my favorite racing game overall for just racing in general. Not arcade racing, just racing in general. It is an experience cabinet, so it's a sit-down racer. Anybody that plays this game, and it's for everyone. You can be older, you could be younger, because of how the game cabinet is designed, and it's just everything about it's fun. The level design is great. There's shortcuts. The game itself is pretty.
Oh,
And let me flip it around here, and it is
Hydro Thunder.
Hydro
Oh,
Thunder.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I'm not saying that this is on my list because it's just I own it. I own it because it would be on my list. It is a
Right.
freaking awesome arcade. As you can see, the throttles, so you don't have to deal with like foot pedals over here. You don't have any foot pedals there. You just got throttles. So I have pictures of my daughter playing this game when she was less than 1 year old, sitting in her bumbo seat. I am not exaggerating. I'm dead serious. I have but you wonder why why my daughter is a shark and just freaking stomps people playing that. It's because she's been playing it since before she could walk. But it is so freaking dope. It's a great game. If I had more space, I'd have the fourth one because there's nothing better than having a group
Gotta
of
get
your
the
friends,
fourth one, bro.
a group of your friends sitting down, racing against each other. I mean, we played I think one of the arcades were messed up, wasn't it? We could only play 3, but I think we were playing 3 or 4 wide when we were at the Pinball Hall of Fame again. They had Hydro Thunders there, and we sat down and played it. And that game is awesome when you play it on your arcade machine, but you're playing the PC version. It's not, the game has never actually been emulated, the actual arcade version of Hydro Thunder. And when you sit down, it is crazy. But when you sit down and play this actual cabinet, I mean, anybody that went into an arcade, they played this cabinet. Everybody on the screen has played it. Anybody that's gone has played. It's just super fun. Everything about it is fun, and especially when you get them.
Good game,
dude. When you get
It's
it
fun
linked,
until you play Larson and he stomps you so bad because he knows every shortcut,
it's still
everything.
fun.
It's like
It's still fun. It's still fun. Come on, admit it. But it's cool because you're racing with your friends and you can see how far they are ahead of you because they got the little like the cabinet 1, 2, 3, or 4 above their boat, and you're trying to catch up with them, and then you're trying to time using your boost at the right time so you hit them and bounce them out of the way, dude.
How do you jump
so
on
good.
the arcade? I never. How do you jump?
So
on
hydro jump for anybody else that's uninitiated. So you're at full throttle. You got to pull it down. And there's actually the spring on the bottom of it when you pull it into reverse. So what you have to do is go into reverse and then hit the boost. So you imagine your boat is going fast and you slam into reverse, which lowers the back of your boat, and you hit boost, which shoots you out of the water.
Okay.
So it's kind of like that crazy taxi trick where you got to shift.
I've never done it in the arcade, so that's
from reverse into it's the same
First
thing. So
person drive real fast.
So on your arcade machine, what you're doing is you got to go as you're pressing and holding your button for throttle. You got to press the reverse button and then let off the throttle, hit reverse really quick, and then hit your turbo button or your boost button while you're holding the reverse. So it's like a off throttle, reverse, and boost, and it'll launch you out. So
gotcha.
For those of you that are playing it on arcade cabinets, on actual with our joysticks and stuff, that's how you would do it. But the cabinet is great. The artwork is beautiful. It's just a fun cabinet. The seat adjustments are great. The sound is
Aren't the
wonderful.
speakers in the headrest?
It
on
has
that
a
game?
big, huge subwoofer in the seat and the seats are hollow, so you get the sound of the subwoofer coming through the seat, and you feel
just like the Tokyo Drift.
Yep, and you feel the bass in it. So like when you're sitting there before you even start, and your boat is just sitting there with the rumble, blah 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 blah, you can feel that on your back. It's just a great cabinet, great arcade game.
Agreed.
Like, if I had to choose one arcade to own at all, if I had to get rid of everything else, I would at least own a Hydro Thunder. That's the first one that I would own, and the main.
And the Dreamcast port was on point too.
Yep.
Hell yeah, it was a good
Dreamcast
port.
is the best version.
And who made Hydro Thunder?
Midway.
Midway been lighting this session up, boy.
So if we have one thing that we've talked about is when we talk about like 80s and 90s video games, Midway is it. So
Midway is Midway, bro.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Oh man. So
dude, you know my affinity for Hydro Thunder, man. And when I sent you my high score,
I can't
or
touch
my
it.
lowest time,
I can't touch it.
that was on the PC version. I'm not gonna. Hey, listen.
I can't touch it.
Tron is untouchable in the arcade. I will say this.
Yeah.
But on the PC version, it was the only one I could play on my Megacade, and man,
his time
my
is
son and I
ridiculous,
went
you
at
guys.
it.
You guys have no idea. His time is freaking crazy. I would put his time up there at probably the top 1% of everybody that's ever played that game in the freaking world. It's nuts.
It is untouchable, dude. Listen,
you can do a search.
over that game.
Yeah, you can search online and try and find times that are faster than his. It is freaking ridiculous. I don't remember what it was specifically, but I remember we were talking about it. It's like, oh my god, yeah, there's no way.
Well, it was Blowfish Lost Island, dude. We were using Blowfish, the hoverboat
hovercraft.
the hovercraft on Lost Island, and man, dude, I remember coming home and my son would already have the Megacade on trying to beat it, and then he beat me, and then I beat him, and then he beat me. Dude, I still got a screenshot of that high score, or that low score, I should say, low time. Love that game. Great game. That was a great pick, man.
Did they ever have a follow-up to the Hydro Thunder?
H2 Overdrive. H2 Overdrive.
Yeah, H2 Overdrive.
It's not as
Did they
good.
have an actual machine though?
Yeah, it's a sit down.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's on our Megacade, man.
Yep.
Yeah, I know.
They had two of them, just like Hydro Thunder. There were two separate cabinets. Mine's a standard cabinet, and they had a deluxe cabinet, which was a bigger screen that was set aside, and there was a separate like seat area that was a whole nother piece that had a dashboard and stuff that was separate from it. So both of them, the Hydro Thunder Deluxe and then the H2 Overdrive, had a standard and a deluxe as well. I don't like H2 Overdrive as much overall. I don't think the tracks are as fun, but the game itself is still a lot of fun to play, but the tracks just don't have the same feel as the Hydro Thunder.
Plastic.
Hydro Thunder's better.
Okay.
So
yep.
But with that, we made it. See, we're just a little heavy on time, but it was still a freaking great time hanging out with you guys. I want to touch a couple of things first, not necessarily the guests that are on here, but I want to touch on their actual YouTube channels and the stuff that they do. First off, I'm going to talk about my boy Scantron 5K. Make sure you check out his YouTube channel. He's always putting out some fun stuff. He's got, if you go back in his archives, he's got lots of fun, play times where he's just gone on his machine and just played random stuff. Lots of fun. He's always putting out good instructional videos, tutorials. He has some sweet pinball videos up there. Make sure you check him out. Fantastic page. He's got lots of stuff on there. My man Ruben, too, he has a little page. You can find him on that YouTube, and he's got some fun stuff in there, too, where he has his Lair up and running. He's show you some fun stuff, some gameplay footage. And then my man D Thomas from NC, he goes without saying that he has a huge following. Yeah, his stuff is great. It's varied. He has tons of unboxing videos and review videos and compilation videos. He's just a wonderful space, all three of them to go into, and you could spend freaking months just going through all their fun stuff. I am dead serious, and it's a lot of fun. Do yourself a favor, check them out. If you haven't liked or subscribed to their pages, do yourself that favor, like and subscribe to it. Just take some time. You've done worse things with your spare time. Trust me, their pages are awesome. And I want to say thanks to everybody for being here. Rube, Scan, D Thomas, my man Horton, and then Wolf, as always, my friend. Dude, I wouldn't be doing these without you. Like straight up, you're like the second half to my brain. You're the yin to my yang. So, and I just love doing this stuff with you. I love hanging out with you. I love just being able to run down this retro and fun arcade journey with you. And I just want to say thanks to everybody again for hanging out.
Back at you, man. Back at you.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
quick final word, because Tron is very modest. He wants to highlight everybody else and he wants to put them up and showcase them, but notice he didn't say anything about himself. So that's where
I was going to do that, but go ahead and handle that.
Yeah.
Handle that.
So I would say, please, if you get a chance, the man, the myth, the legend, Tron 69K, he's got a channel on YouTube. Damn good. I've logged many hours, looking at his funny gameplay videos, his reviews. He does mods. He does helpful hints. He's like the jack of all trades, man. He even has some like plumbing tips for you too. I mean, he's got everything. So like he said, it takes a second to hit the like button and subscribe. And I just want to say something from my heart real quick. Something that I'll never forget was the moment in this episode where you talked about your father. I got choked up for a little bit, a little teary-eyed, because I know how much your father meant to you. And with gaming, you were talking about that and how he loved Centipede. And I just real quick thought about my dad and like how he, loved video games, how he loves video games and got me into it. And just, it's a moment I'll never forget. So I thank you for being vulnerable and telling us about that.
Yep.
Really appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate all of you here. And then I look forward to hopefully having you guys in the premiere chat when we launch this thing up. And and I think it'll be a fun little jaunt down memory lane with some of the other people that are going to enjoy these games. They're going to tell us what we missed, what we hit. And you guys, when you're watching this, tell us in the chat. Tell us in the comments. What's a game that we missed? Maybe we'll talk about it again. We'll do another arcade, supplemental episode. Maybe we'll just talk about shooters. Maybe we'll just talk about like old school, early 90s, whatever. Tell us.
Do a midway episode.
Do a full midway episode.
Oh, man.
Off-Road
We should
Thunder is
totally do a
happening.
midway episode.
Oh,
Do a claim episode.
Yep. See, but just let us know what you want to see. I'll be happy to start working up something for you. I love doing these with everybody. I really just love hanging out with my friends. So I just wanted to say thanks again to you guys for coming and hanging out. And does anybody else have anything else to say?
Yeah, just stay tuned for some of the upcoming Law episodes. We got this giant series coming up on the 25 greatest console games of all time, where we had our lists and we hashed it out and ranked it. And
Freaking
like, this is going to be nuts.
It's 4 episodes, you guys. 4 episodes, episodic. Yeah, it's a undertaking, but it's a lot of fun. Oh my gosh, it's going to be so much fun. So yeah, be looking out for that. That's coming soon. All right.
I appreciate you asking us to be on it, man. Thank you. It was good to be here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, my pleasure, my friends. And until next time,
let's lose.
peace.
Peace.